Us even a skeleton of any investigations that have been done so far.
Among those who will be questioned at the head of Public Service Joseph Kinyua, Interior CS Fred Matiang'i, IG Hilary Mutyambai, and the GSU Commandant. The Ed's Wiper leader Kalonzo Musyoka condemned the government's move to change Deputy President William Ruto's security. Speaking in Nairobi, Kalonzo said every Kenyan, including leaders, had a right to protection, while urging Ruto to adapt to the situation as he too had been stripped of his bodyguards.
One time, siku hiyo ya kukula kiapo, askari walikuwa wote withdrawn. Na bado niko hai, karibuni sana Kenya. Mtazoea tu. Watoto vijana, kuna mwimbaji amesema utazoea tu. Lakini tukifanya hivyo ile basics, tusipite mipaka.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislature are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, we are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi Lokop is Jeshi Lawokov?
I can't say it very well, but you know, Jeshi Lokop.
And everyone knows. Okay.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
It's Monday morning and let's see what it looks like on these streets. It's already starting to build up on Mombasa Road today, getting out into the city centre. Slow, but quite something. If you can get through the billows of dust, that would be a great thing as you're getting through this construction that's happening on Mombasa Road today. We're already looking at traffic building up on Jogo Road, getting out then towards Makadara past the train station and out onto Landys Road. It's already building up a few minutes past 6 o'clock. Langata Road also looks like quite something right now. We'll keep an eye on that one, but not too bad. Aerodrome Road, Uhuru Highway, out through to the city centre, not too bad. Right around Bunyala Road, however, it's starting to build up. We're also looking at it building up on the Thika Superhighway, again, right around Survey, but then past the Muthui Square into the Pangani Underpass. Nothing there, at least not for now. Let's keep an eye on things. Not too bad for now. SpiceFM KE on Twitter is how you can get in touch with us. Let's try to keep things moving this Monday morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, it's 7 minutes after 6. A very good morning to you, and how are you doing? 30th day of August 2021. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. Happy Monday, Nduoko.
Happy Monday, Eric Latif. How are you today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Happy to see you.
Happy to see you too.
I had a banana for breakfast. I'm energized like a bullet.
A banana for breakfast. And it kicks in immediately.
I'm telling you,
it's mara moja.
Like, it's injection. Direct.
It's mara moja. How are you, City?
Mara moja, I am well.
Good morning, Titi.
Super. Excellent.
Mambo.
Maridadi.
Poa.
Yes.
Mambo sawa sawa.
Je, Madam Do, where iko namna gani?
Mimi?
As in, how are you all?
Nico.
Yes.
All of who?
See, you, yourself, and others.
Oh, the three of us, we are fine.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Now,
We
brother
have had a
Eric.
conversation
Mimi
with
niko
ourselves.
salama kabisa.
That is very good.
Yes.
It is really good to be
Mwenyezi
there.
Mungu amenilinda.
Hallelujah. It is good to...
The hallelujah was great. Telling you.
It was natural, wasn't it?
It just came out nicely.
Yeah. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation. So, a lot of things have been happening over the weekend. Everybody's facing the mountain. And the assumption here is that the mountain is not facing anywhere. It's waiting to be faced.
This particular mountain, though, if we leave the geographical edifice that gives the region its name, that one, even people think it's immovable. Oh, yes, it moves. Not quite the way you think. But if you look at the tip of the mountain and you look at the surface of the mountain, it has been eroded, it has been eroding, it has changed significantly over the years. So now if we move to the people of the mountain who then give the mountain significance, should we apply the same narrative? Are they also moving?
They're also eroding.
They're also eroding. And erosion is a change.
Yeah.
They're eroding values. They're eroding thinkings. Are they? Now, anyone who understands anything about politics knows that one of the things that politics is dynamic.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. Then there's also the whole chaos on Mombasa Road, particularly between City Cabanas and Mlolongo. Madness, isn't it?
That's ridiculous.
Nightmarish variety of madness.
Yeah. So we'll have two residents of Syokimau who will come and join us today. They have very many issues to talk about, and hopefully we'll also hear from Kenha whether they can respond to these concerns. There's the issue of traffic. There's the issue of dust. It's just very many things put together.
There's the issue of livelihood.
Yeah.
There is the issue of health.
Health is a growing concern now with the road and what they're having to do along that particular area, and quite a number of people are really having a very difficult time. Respiratory illness, nosebleeds in children. I mean, we've seen more and more cases over the last 3 days alone. It's not pretty at all.
You know, it's odd that you find these so-called development-related issues like industrialization. Now, historically speaking, they're always rife with health issues. And if you have an environmental body that's supposed to look into it, and beyond giving the nod for the industry to actually begin, one doesn't quite hear, unless the residents of those who are affected make a bit of noise, of a situation where they rein these rogue industries in. Because there are places where people didn't have respiratory problems. Now they're having respiratory problems, surely.
Completely.
Can you not figure out where it's coming from?
Honestly. I mean, you can taste the dust. I mean, even just you can taste the dust in your mouth. And it's clear. And the noise pollution is another thing. There's
a factory in Kilifi, a cement factory. If you knew that area before that factory came up, it was one of the most beautiful greeneries you could come across. Dust emanating from that factory. My friend, grey leaves. Respiratory ailments in that area have shot up. People who didn't have problems now have problems. And you wonder, why is this person still continuing to do this work that they're doing?
It's interesting that you say that. You know this brilliant blue uniform of the police now. So Saturday morning, just on a quick errand, in the morning, the fellow was blue. And then there was traffic on all the feeder roads inward. By 4 o'clock, he was white.
Good.
He was white.
His blue became white, grey, tinged white.
Meaning he had accumulated, absorbed, and retained.
Yes. Hey. So all residents of Syokimau, please wake everybody else up and tell them to tune into SpiceFM, because at 8 o'clock, the conversation is about what's happening in your neighborhood. And we want all of you to tune in and to contribute to this. But let's begin with COVID-19 in numbers. tracking the numbers.
Absolutely. Looking at the numbers that we're looking at around the world for now, 217 million cases, guys. The last time we talked, we were at 211 million. The world now, 6 million cases. 6 million cases in the last 4 days, an increase of such, and we're still looking at more and more. It's not a good situation that we are in as the world right now. More and more people are getting, and what we are seeing now is that there's a proliferation of the Delta variant more than anything else, with a quicker onset of symptoms, of course, but then also, unfortunately, for a lot of people, a quicker onset of death if they're not able to get the right treatment, or even if they start getting the right treatment, it has already become too late. And that's what we are seeing now. Even if there is space, that by the time they realize that their lungs are compromised or respiratory system is compromised, get into hospital, into a medical facility, and things have already gone south, literally. So that's the worrying thing. Again, the debate of vaccines has come in through over the weekend, and people are asking many questions. So if we can still get COVID after having been vaccinated twice, why are we bothering? And I think the thing is that to continue to spread the message that what it does is offer a line of protection. That even if you were to get ill, you would not get ill to the extent that you would had you not been vaccinated. And I think it is extremely important to send that out. Ministry of Health continues to let us know that vaccines are available in the country. Please go out and get them. Kenya's positivity rate is currently at 7.9%. 363 cases reported yesterday. Tested positive, rather. From that sample size, Kenya has a positivity rate of 7.9. We'll see what the numbers look like today, coming out of the weekend. But that is the situation for now. And we have cases spread across the country. Interestingly enough, we also have younger and younger people in the country becoming infected. So now the question is in Kenya, should we consider vaccinating the younger population?
Consider
vaccinating the younger population.
Yes, but should we not ensure that those who are of that particular age bracket, who need it, and who are in dire positions with regards to what faces them if they don't get vaccinated, can we get these ones vaccinated first?
Who are those?
Remember, we dealt with the elderly, the infirm, those with underlying conditions?
Yeah.
Yes. Now, there's a second tier of individuals. Let's start with public servants. Let's start with people who are in the business of being in touch with other people, like business people. Let's talk about the working population. These people need to be vaccinated. So when we talk about vaccination, we're not just talking about the aged and those who are infirm. We're talking about a very large portion of that particular population being vaccinated.
Yeah, makes sense. It makes sense. So let's take a break then at this point, shall we? 16 minutes after 6, a very good morning to you. We are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook and Twitter. Are you online? Are you ready for a new week and a new month that begins the day after tomorrow? Yeah? If you are, let's hear from you this morning. Let's take this break, take a look at the weather, and then we will be looking at the newspaper headlines shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life. SpiceFM.
It's getting hot in here.
Oh, everybody steals. It's better a thief who brings something small back. And I say to myself, there's no better thief. A thief is a thief, period.
All those bribes, how much they're getting per year, how much inconvenience they're causing, as much as you call it a small case, it's worth it to be convicted.
The truth is, we are a tribal nation. Because if we were not tribal, and I want to go back to this, you cannot continue walking around with a mug which is clean outside and it's rotten inside.
We have become a fuliza country. We have mortgaged our country because of debt.
You've got one chef working, and the assistant chef, wakati anatakana koroge unga nini hayuko.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Clear conditions in Nairobi this morning at 14. That'll be the low for today, going to highs of 27. It's clear in Nyeri at 12, highs of 25. We'll see highs of 25 in a mostly clear Nakuru this morning at 15. 13 degrees and mostly cloudy in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 13. It's 19 degrees and clear in Kisumu, highs of 29 and lows of 19. Clear conditions at 15 in Kakamega. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 15. 29 will be the high in Mombasa, where it's clear at 22. Mostly clear conditions at 25 in Malindi, highs of 29. We'll see highs of 30, getting warmer and warmer in Kampala. Mostly clear conditions currently at 19, coming down to lows of 18. It's 23 and mostly clear in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31. 19 will be the high in Johannesburg, quite chilly this morning at 5. And 25 and light rain in Lagos, highs of 29 and lows of 24. We'll see lows of 23 in Kinshasa, highs of 33 today. Out in Beijing, 28 will be the high. It's sunny currently at 27. 15 degrees and cloudy in Paris, highs of 22. Cloudy conditions at 15 in London, highs of 19 and lows of 14. And still Sunday night in New York, it's cloudy at 23. We'll see highs of 25 and lows of 23.
Spice FM. Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
All right,
Spice
it's
FM.
18 minutes after 6. People are online.
A million of them, my goodness.
Good.
Good morning, Monday. Isaiah Mbora, Abute Wat. I'm just even going to call you in fours. Vincent Omondi, Rash Bashir Were. Following from Kisumu, Busia. Good morning to you. Nicholas, good morning from Kericho. Jose is tuning from Nakuru. Delian Sobunga is also in Kisumu. And out of Nyamira, that's where McBride Nyaribo is. Locked in from Nakuru is where Raphael Conrad is. David Wasubuke is in this morning. Alex Kipto is tuning from Wasingishu and says, getting you loud and clear from Moysbridge. This is Sir Haran, and he says, anybody can be happy in the state of comfort, ease, health, success, pleasure, and joy. But if one would be happy and contented in the time of trouble, hardship, and prevailing disease, it is the proof of nobility. Interesting that it comes from you, Sir Haran. Joshua Onsogo says, good morning. Nyakundi Jack Theko says, good morning as well, as Chumba is tuned in from Qatar in Doha. Bernard Masika is tuned in from Nandi. And Babake Chris is tuned in from here in Nairobi. Stanley Gashe Stan as well. Leslyn tuned in from Jamaica. Leslyn, good morning. Great day it is from County 001. That's where Rogers Lie is. Good night, good morning from Grenada. That's where Desmond Blair is. And Sky Karish tuned in. Oh, says good morning, Nduko. It's Ndu, not Nduko.
It can also be Nduko, can't it?
No.
Ndu. Okay.
Evelyn Kavaya tuned in on board this morning and says, indeed, it's a new week. Tune in from Riyadh. And Kelebogile Modise tuned in from Gauteng as well. Bishogore Omukaya. My goodness, everybody's online. Wish I could get to all of you today. Odera Jr. is tuned in as well as Joshua Nsongo.
We'll be saying hello as we go.
Yes.
Sindio.
So many more people. Good morning, Asante
we'll
Sana.
be acknowledging as we go. Thank you very much, everybody, for tuning in to Kenya's biggest conversation. Siti Muga has the day's proverb.
One should punish a child the first time he comes home with a stolen egg. Otherwise, the day he returns home with a stolen ox, it will be too late.
Say what? I heard eggs and oxes. Oxen.
Oxes and oxens.
Egg and oxen. They did what?
If they come home, stolen egg, you don't punish them.
They will come home.
They will come when they will come home with that stolen ox and ox.
Ezioku. It's very true.
Then it will be too late.
It's very true, eh?
Ezioku.
Ezioku means it's true.
Is truth.
And Bundu means life.
Bu is, Ndu is life. So, put it together.
Boo to you.
It's true.
I am good.
Yes.
One should punish a child when they come home with a stolen egg.
If you don't punish a child when he comes home with a stolen egg, one day he'll come home with a stolen oxen.
By that time, it'll have been late.
Voila.
Too late. And that's very, very true. Ukweli kabisa. So shall we take a look at the headlines? Yes?
Yes.
I want to start with this one. Page 17 of the Standard today. Court rules in favor of 3,500 Nubians over Kenya Railways evictions. So remember the story of the Nubian community in Kisumu that was evicted by Kenya Railways as they were doing their thing.
Yes.
They went to court, 6 residents, on behalf of more than 3,500 people who were victims of the demolition that took place in February this year. They filed a petition, and a judgment by Justice Anthony Ombwayo set the ground for the community to lodge another suit for compensation of damages because the judge said they were forcefully evicted from their homes by Kenya Railways. Those evictions violated their rights. Okay. On Friday, after months of gloom, members of the minority group broke into celebrations as they took to the streets of Kisumu to celebrate the judgment, led by their lawyers Joshua Nyamori, Dave Siganga, and Robert Maua, as well as chairperson of the Kisumu Muslim Association, Sheikh Musa. They praised the decision by the court to confirm the inhumane nature of the evictions. In the 53-page judgment, Justice Ombwayo issued 12 orders inclining towards the interests of the community. The judge declared that the human and administrative rights of the victims of the evictions were violated by the respondents and barred Kenya Railways from conducting a similar eviction until relocation is done. A declaration that any forcible, violent and brutal eviction through demolition of homes of the petitioners and any other residents of the Kibos informal settlement without according them alternative shelter and or accommodation, leaving them to live in the open, exposed to the elements and vagaries of nature, is a violation of their fundamental rights to life. Some good news, isn't it?
It's very good news.
Some good news for
but
the
But
residents.
I have to ask this question, though. Kenya Railways.
Yes.
What are their fundamental rights to property that they claim to be their own? Was that brought into question?
You see, by the time the judge is arguing this, basically the judge is arguing with their petition. They, according to the community, they were given the parcel by colonial governor of Kenya, Sir Robert Brooke, on January 26, 1938. It is on that basis that they were hoping to convince the court to rule the case in their favor. The judge urged the community to file a separate suit to seek for compensation.
This judge is progressive.
He's basically saying, okay, so you've been living there for how long? All right. Did you get your administrative rights? Maybe right to be heard. Right for conversation about alternative relocation. If we move you from this land, then we can relocate you to this other place. If all that was not done, then there was violation of their rights.
Secondly, remember, we do have an interesting perspective when it comes to squatting, because they're being referred to as squatters, isn't it? Yes. For how long are you allowed to squat before certain fundamental rights kick in and you have a say on that very land on which you're squatting?
Yep. Actually, their argument is not even squatting. Their argument is this land is legally, lawfully ours.
Yes. Now, what it tells me is that they had a good lawyer. Looked at the whole situation and realized this petition has to be framed this way. Anything else, the court will look at it and we may have a problem. But this one, we have grounds.
We have grounds.
Yes.
We've been here since the 1930s.
Well, that's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
That's a very long time. Yeah. Another story. A happy one, hopefully.
Well, I'm sorry.
Oh, God.
Costly decisions plunge Kenya Power into loss. Sorry.
That's a happy story.
No, I said I gave a rider.
Okay.
I apologized in advance.
Carry on.
When Kenya Power demanded 2.8 billion shillings for connection, industrialist Narendra Raval decided to generate his own electricity, denying the firm 200 million shillings per month. All right. So now folks are looking for alternative forms of power, and they are not cheap. Okay. So just looking at the detail of this, how Kenya Power threw away the chance to collect 200 million shillings a month, and adding to their woes, it gives a story of a decision that was made by a power firm. And so there's a billionaire and his name is Narendra Raval. Okay. And he revealed how Kenya Power had given him a 2.8 billion shilling check to connect electricity to one of his clinker factories in Imali. At first, he thought the utility company was joking. But when he realized that he could not get electricity without parting with the money, he then decided to do the math, and it didn't add up. There was no value for what he was receiving. He says he realized it would cost him a fraction of the cost to build his own power plant in Imali, and that besides reliability and independence would give him cheaper power at the end of the month compared to Kenya power bills. He made up his mind to build his own power generating plant. Okay, so this is kind of like a good story and a bad story. Okay, so he now produces 28 megawatts of power, and he plans to generate his own power in all other factories to ensure that they are self-reliant. He's the chairman of Devki Group, right? He says Kenya Power lost a chance to supply him with electricity for the first 6 decades, for the next 6 decades, the lifetime of the clinker mile. Kenya Power now loses revenues of about 200 million shillings a month because of that one decision. And this is just one company. Adding that the current high cost of buying power from the utility company makes locally produced goods uncompetitive in the global market. Kenya Power currently charges businesses about 19 shillings for every unit of electricity. That is 3.5 times the actual price of generating power. KenGen supplies power at 5.46 shillings per kilowatt hour, but Kenya Power has been known to buy more expensive power from independent power producers. Okay, so a secret cabinet memo prepared by Treasury Secretary Ukuyatani, I guess not so secret anymore, on the troubles of the Kenya Power shows that the average cost of electricity, even after factoring the prices of expensive diesel generators, is 8 shillings per unit. But Kenya Power sells it at more than double this price to consumers in a major ripoff. Still, the company is seeking deeper into the red. The expensive power has seen major industries and companies in the agricultural and manufacturing sector opt to generate their own power. So, yes, companies are winning in the sense that they're generating and are becoming self-reliant and independent. But here you have a company that could be doing so much better and is not, because inflated prices, mismanagement of funds, contracts that steep them in some drama we don't understand. So here's a guy who would have been easily giving Kenya Power 200 million shillings, but he's doing it for himself.
Kenya Power is in some serious publicity problems. This is a serialization of a story on Kenya Power by The Nation.
Yeah.
There's a similar one that was being done by The Star.
Yes.
The Standard today has a story on the business pages, page 34, pain for consumers as Kenya now turns to expensive thermal power. What does the Business Daily have on Kenya Power?
Ensuring the success of energy auctions in Kenya.
Hey.
My friend.
My goodness.
It's raining.
Oh. This is a serious tsunami that is just basically hitting Kenya Power. Left, right and center. And then there's a whole issue of, you saw them being summoned by Parliament. The board being asked, why were you meeting? How many times again did they meet? They were meeting like 3 times a month.
Yes, so
right?
they ended up meeting...
MD resigning or leaving, a new MD coming in.
Acting.
Yeah.
And remember, before this one came in, another one had left. And that one also acted. There was one who acted up for a while. Before that, I mean, the changes at the helm have been fast and extremely furious. And the problems don't seem to get any, should we say?
Easier.
Yes.
They don't easier or less.
What I find
nothing is changing.
No.
What I find interesting though is that when something of this sort happens and there's this a deluge of accusations left, right, and center, I guess there's a lot more to these problems of Kenya Power than meets the eye.
Yes.
Infinitely deeper, infinitely more profound. And infinitely more entrenched, because we're talking power, we're talking this. This is a discussion that has been going on for quite some time. But it's more like we're discussing the symptoms. The problem is hinted at every once in a while, but is it really there? Because the arithmetic doesn't do right there. And in the past, we've had people who understand all the permeations around power and have said, you can't justify what we're being charged for power. It doesn't matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
Kenya Power has the right of reply. Let's see what they have to say on this particular matter.
Hey. it points to something else that's happening within Kenya Power. Some internal fights.
And
they're
vicious.
Vicious fights. Because all this kind of publicity doesn't just come out of nowhere. It doesn't. 28 minutes to 7, Kenya's biggest conversation. Takes a break to take a look at traffic. Okay. You're on Mombasa Road. Okay. You are coming towards Nairobi. Okay. Let's hear where you are. Good morning.
Hey, it's getting hot in here. The media has greatly contributed to the moral rot that we experience in this country.
I remember a senior politician telling me, point blank, nobody steals in the field, it's stolen in the granary. So my friend, if you're going to win an election, jipange kwa granary.
I think we are suffering from Stockholm syndrome. Our violator and abuser is also our redeemer in our mind.
The whole political class, the whole political institution is rotten.
Yeah, back to school today and the city is already busy. Mombasa Road users better leave your houses early. Well, if you've not left, it's already too late. And that's for sure because it's already building up in terms of traffic on Mombasa Road this morning. Where else are we looking at it today? We're looking at quite some also on Langata Road. It takes just minutes and that's already jam-packed, getting towards the roundabout at Timor. Also, Jogo Road is a lot busier than it was half an hour ago, getting past the train station and then heading out towards Landis Road at the stadium roundabout there. Looks like it's going to be there for some time. Mombasa Road right now, guys, it's already jam-packed. Woo! Okay, also looking at Haile Selassie Avenue, getting into the city, connecting with Landis Road. We're looking also at some traffic coming out of Westlands. That also is actually quite packed. Limuru Road is also starting to build up as well. And what was not on Thika Road now is, all the way from Survey out towards the Pangani Underpass, is packed completely. It's that Monday, 6:33, and it's already looking crazy. Let's keep an eye on things and see what it looks like in a short while. We're going to need you to help us out here, folks. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Where are you stuck, or where have you found a good route? The bypasses this morning seem to be your friends. Text us as well on 40127.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4
All right,
Spice
small
FM.
headlines. What are you looking at, City?
What I'm looking at, well, I'm a little conflicted this morning. Yeah?
Please don't be.
Well, with good reason. It isn't a conflict in a vacuum. Because there are all manner of articles that I'm looking at here, and I'm looking at the Business Daily, and I'm thinking, let me just give you an example of what I mean about the conflict. Huh?
Okay.
County business, 10,000 face eviction in slum property dispute. Okay?
Uh-huh.
There is a place called Deep Sea.
In Westlands.
Yes, there is.
Yes, in Westlands. All right? Apparently, there are 10,000 individuals who have been living in this property for quite some time, and they say they have built a community. They have a church, they have houses. Essentially, it's community.
Yeah.
But there are people who also want to build on this land, and they are registered as the proprietors of this land. And they wanted these fellows evicted, so the guys went to court. Now, what caught my attention, whatever petition they took to court was thrown out. Okay? They couldn't prove, according to Justice Kosibor of the Environment and Land Court, they didn't prove several things.
These are private individuals. Okay.
The people who represent the deep sea slum in Parklands, they didn't prove, for instance, that they actually had any case, generally speaking, against the developers. One, which portion of that particular land they actually occupied.
Okay.
They couldn't prove the length of time they'd actually been staying there.
Okay.
So whatever you can premise such a case on, they said, according to this judgment, they don't prove. Now, let me explain why this caught my attention. For people to live in slums or to squat, it means that is not where they originally came from.
Yeah.
they came to probably a big city because rural areas don't have slums, so people think. But if you look carefully, some rural areas actually do have slums. Now, slums in urban areas, it starts with a couple of people, and with the time it grows. All this time, these people are living in this settlement and increasing in numbers, because what they live in is makeshift houses. Where are the owners of this property, and what is it that they do? By the time there are 10,000 people living on that piece of land, it wasn't as though there was one person and then the next day there were 10,000. It's grown over time. Now, there aren't details of whether they've been communicated to, whether discussions have been ongoing. Those details aren't there. But it points to a failure, not just in our planning system, but in the way we manage those whom we consider to be poor in our country. Because for this slum to exist, it means there are others that don't have issues and are quietly growing. That, what does it tell you? It tells you that there are more and more people looking for opportunities coming into town.
But isn't that the picture of a nation, CT? It really is a picture of a nation. How you treat your your most vulnerable is actually a true reflection of who you are. You can't say that the minority and how they might be well off is then a picture of the nation. It isn't. That if you have 10,000 people who are living in abject poverty, or you have them who are squatting in a particular area, that actually then is a picture of the nation.
Yes, but then, now let me get to the crux of the matter. There are people who've been known to occupy land, willfully knowing very well this is not their land, and they occupy it with the view to hoping that there will be some legal statutes that can enable them to actually own or get a piece of it.
Let's just put it the way it is, okay? Politicians,
thank you,
people with political connections will always encourage people to squat on some land so they can use them as a shield when they're stealing that piece of land, number one. Or number two, in the case of very many of these slums that we see coming up, it is looking for numbers. Now, in the case of Deep Sea...
These are voters.
Yes. In the case of Deep Sea, in the case of other slums that we've seen being demolished as the road is being expanded from towards Limuru, right? These are people who were encouraged to come and occupy a piece of land where a politician could look and see this is a road reserve.
And knows it's a road reserve.
Knows it's a road reserve or knows it's public land. Encourages people because you have this power, you have these connections to come and squat there. They're your numbers. Now, when the time comes for them to leave, you are nowhere to be seen, or you're trying to apply political pressure. The particular case of Deep Sea, you see the road that comes from, let's start, Ngong Road at the Prestige, all right? Yes. There's that ring road that goes all the way, it gets to Kileleshwa and then goes into Westlands towards the mall roundabout.
Yes.
That ring road.
Yes.
That ring road, on the other side of the mall, is Ring Road Parklands.
Yes.
Starts from the mall, goes down past the Oval, past General Madenge, and then it's supposed to go and connect with Limuru Road.
Yes.
Now, there's a contractor who's been on site for the last 10 years, constructing that small section of the road. Took very long for them to start from the mall to General Madenge to the corner of Deep Sea. Started the other end from Limuru Road to the corner of Deep Sea. Cannot connect. Why? Because Deep Sea. That is Ring Road Parklands. How did the people occupy that section?
How did they occupy a roundabout?
How did the people occupy that section? You will find that there's look back, you'll find a politician who encouraged the people to come and move there. Similar cases are happening, for example, with Portland cement land in Athi River.
Yes.
Right? And we've seen those cases. Portland has put out caveats. The government of Machakos has put out caveats. You know, people, this land belongs to Portland Cement. But there are people who've moved in there. These are not just slums quarters. There are people who've come in and they've been sold 2 pieces of land and they've put up houses. Proper permanent residential homes. With the encouragement of politicians who are hoping that this is how many 10,000 acres of Portland. Portland is public land. If we put in people here, how can the government evict its own people?
Actually, oddly enough, the government can.
Oddly enough, it can.
And it will.
The issue of planning, though, is very, very critical in this particular one. Because planning is also what's causing us not to have water in the city. Page 10 of The Nation, the riddle of water shortage in Nairobi. It tells the story of an estate here called Clive Gardens in the posh Lavington suburb, where residents received a text message one day that Nairobi City Water and Sewerage Company would not be supplying them with water as usual. To the 100 or so tenants on Gitanga Road, the message was not new. They had received such messages time and again. They were in for a shocker this time round. 2 months down the line, the estate is in deep, acute water shortage. This is now our 4th month without water. Seeing even a drop trickling from the tap is next to a miracle. We wonder why some apartments sharing the same line have not been affected. The problem is not unique to Sandalwood. Neighbouring Sohill Gardens, Kingara Heights, Mulberry, among others, are also affected. It's now common to see water bowsers doing the rounds in the upmarket neighbourhood as vendors make a killing from what is now emerging to be an artificial shortage. Tenants are spending more than 10,000 shillings a month to buy water. See? Games being played, according to this story.
But that story, I think, if you live in the city and you know of the issues surrounding water and the ever-growing business of water suppliers or suppliers of water, then it is not difficult to add 1 plus 1. No, it isn't. Because it just can't. It can't be that even when we have more water than we know what with, you're being told...
There's still a shortage.
Yes, and you're asking, what do you mean there is a shortage?
There are people who lived in certain areas of the city and never experienced putting on the tap and water flowing out of it.
And yet they have taps.
And yes, the life of buying water from a bowser and then filling your tank is what they are known, is what they have known forever. But then now to think that even now you're still looking at this artificial shortage and saying, all right, you know what? Because I often ask myself, these people who bring you the tank water, where are they getting it from?
You know,
they get it from somewhere.
If you take your mind along that path. You know, I recall once, and this is not to badmouth any eatery or any place where food is sold. I stopped eating what you call these fresh uncooked vegetables.
Salad?
Yeah, it's called salad.
Fruit salad. Vegetable salad.
Vegetable salad. The reason why I stopped eating was there's an establishment my colleague and I used to eat at. Now, some of these colleagues of mine were lab people. Now, they decided to just take these lovely salads and they took it to the lab to do what lab people do.
Yuck.
Up to that point, I really liked those things. And then the misfortune was, as we were chatting one day, they started talking. Tea break, people are drinking tea. Said, you know that thing, we cultured it and this is what we found. I asked them to repeat it again. Said, well, why don't we just go to the lab so that you can have a look and see?
Ew.
I thanked them. And they said, you know, the problem is not the vegetable. The problem is the water with which they're washed. So I asked, so what do you think? He said, this is the problem. You can't, what is clear, I can only see the water is not treated.
Yes.
Okay?
Yeah.
Now, there's something, this is not a problem. It's actually a symptom. And why is it a symptom? This need that every Kenyan who is breathing and can walk and can talk and can think seems to have, this great urgent need to acquire at whatever cost. Everyone in the little enclave wants to acquire and wants to be a millionaire. Either you're extorting money or you are lying or you're cheating. And it doesn't really matter. And
all levels.
Yes. And we think it's an opportunity. That level of madness is an opportunity.
You know, it's interesting that you bring that up. We're having a conversation with certain people yesterday.
Yes.
You hear all the time, you know, let's say some of these big retail outlets,
yes,
where workers, one of the biggest threats is internal. It is workers pilfering, workers finding ways. Somebody going onto social media and complaining. Have you ever looked at the receipt of what you've bought from some of these supermarkets? You have bought 3 items, you're charged for 4.
Clear. Yes.
And this is just because the workers have found a way. So you have come up with a system as a supermarket. You have really taken care of your inventory management.
Yes.
You have taken care of making sure that you see everything that goes out.
Yet.
Yet this person will find a way of charging a client an extra, and then they'll make money out of it.
You know, there's
at the end of the day, inventory goes, but...
Yes, meaning your books. Have you heard the story of people who own restaurants complaining of the same?
Mm.
You look at your inventory, nothing is taken from you. Yeah. But a casual observance as to the sales, people buy, people purchase, but the arithmetic doesn't add up. And yet, your supplies also haven't, they balance. It means your workers use your establishment as, yes, they bring their own potatoes, their own sausages, their own this, their oil is yours, the electricity is yours, the chairs are yours, but these are your partners.
They are basically...
Unknown to you.
They are your partners.
Your partners.
But you're not partnering. You're only partnering in terms of you're giving them a place to
do their business, yes.
But all the profit is theirs.
Yes.
The entire margin is theirs. And you're the one who's paying the staff, you're paying the power, you're paying everything else.
You're even paying them.
And then you look back and you remember at the point when you were interviewing this person for a job. Yes. They were so honest. And in fact, if you spoke to them at that point and you even did an honestometer on them, they were actually genuinely honest.
They were honest.
They were looking for a job because they needed a job and they needed an income. And you ask them, so would you steal? No, never.
His God would not allow it.
No.
Get the first salary. Second one, they're already starting to think, how can I play this
I'm
game?
working too hard.
Not enough.
This person is making too much money on my back.
And that is it. And that's that's the attitude I think that causes all these things.
Yes.
It's because that worker is thinking, I am helping you make money.
Without me, you wouldn't be making the money, and you're thinking, my goodness, you found this establishment ongoing.
Yes.
When did you acquire this role that you keep talking about? At what point did you become this cog without which this wheel couldn't move?
People are looking for jobs, not for job's sake. People are looking for money. Now, if a job is what will make them get that money, is fine.
It's just a means to an end.
Yes. Job is something else. Money is the bottom line. That's why they're looking at you. How much money am I making? How much money am I helping you make? No. We need to share this.
And right now, the matrix for sharing is not favorable.
It's not favorable to me.
So I will create a new one.
Imagine. 11 minutes to 7. Let's take a quick break and then we look at more headlines. Good morning.
Have you seen them? Am I live?
Yes, it's a very nice outfit, I must say. Good
Thank
job.
you. Asante sana.
The compliment is well received.
Good morning and thank you. Everyone was asking me what channel is SpiceFM.
96.7. Tell them that, right?
Yes, now they know.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Pleasure to have
you.
What
a beautiful studio, my friend.
I've been to other radio stations, but I've never seen anything like this.
Thank you. And it's very nice to be in a modern studio. Absolutely brilliant.
And I have to say, it's a very cool ambiance here in your radio room. Just for our listeners, I think it is below zero in this room here. Very Swiss temperatures.
Okay, 10 to 7. Do.
Right, so lecturers saying that they're going to carry on with the strike as pay talks fail. So a couple of weeks ago, there was maybe we could come to the table and have a discussion about this, but they've said absolutely not. Public universities begin their work boycott today after negotiations between their union and the government failed. The University Academic Staff Union called the strike when some institutions failed to honour the collective bargaining agreement fully, including salary raise, even after the government released 6.6 billion shillings last year. So the UASU Secretary General, Constantine Wasonga, said that no deal had been struck by the end of yesterday. Union officials held talks with government reps on Friday and Saturday and were to meet again yesterday and today. Wasonga did not give details of the meetings. He said, "We don't want to talk. We want money." We negotiated. Sorry.
No. I am.
We're in this for the money.
Yes.
Yes.
Talk. You no.
Money.
Give us money. We negotiated and concluded everything. So it's up to the universities to pay our members. Until you hear from me saying the strike has been called off, it is still on. So today, the 30th of August, the strike is on. University Education PS Simon Napugwesi appealed to the lecturers, please. and other staff to remain on duty. Please remain on duty, saying the strike would disrupt key programs.
It does. It will most certainly.
Union said there's no time for a beg.
Yeah, people who want to graduate, they will not be able to graduate.
And this is the season, eh? There's intake. There's intake right now.
And there's outtake.
Right?
There's outtake.
Okay. There's intake currently. A lot of universities are, because graduations just happened a couple of weeks, past. And so the program has begun. So they said, please, there's a lot going on right now. It'll affect this for sure. They said, no, time to talk was before. You didn't tell us anything. Sorry. We're not working with you. They said, you people failed to honor this. You failed to honor the pay deal. So what is it that we're talking about now exactly? And it seems that the only language that people will understand is if we just fail to come to work. If we don't come to work, that's when you people will hear what it is that we are saying. The Ministry of Education said it's working with the National Treasury to ensure the money is released soon. Soon apparently has no o'clock. Kenyans know we lost a lot of time and students need to be compensated. I urge our lecturers not to go on strike. This is what he said. But they said, no, we urge you to give us our money.
This never-ending vicious cycle is disturbing. Huh? Because the conversation about adding people money is a valid one in that people are looking at balancing what can be referred to as a cost of living, isn't it?
Right.
But I do not hear enough conversation from the government and the ministries responsible for how it is they hope to increase production of the goods and services that we have. Because if you have it in abundance, simple law of supply and demand, the money that you have can be enough. It doesn't have to be more.
If you're doing the things you ought to be doing with the money,
yes,
it can go round and it would be sufficient.
Yes. We ask for more money because what we have can't buy what we need. And yet, if what we need is available and can be bought at what we have, then our lives get better. Now, somehow, this same quest, this same push to just keep acquiring more and more and more money, what you're doing is you keep raising the inflation higher and higher and higher. And the value of this shilling of yours simply gets worse and worse and worse.
It's not pretty.
No, it isn't pretty at all. It isn't pretty. But look at the damage. Look at what's happening to the students. Not to downplay what the lecturer is talking about. No. But what do you think? These are people who have their future ahead of them, and that future keeps being postponed.
Yeah. I mean, somebody who's supposed to think about it. Now, if they go on strike today and they say, okay, no, not if they go on. They will go on strike today unless some miracle has happened between, midnight and this time. Those who would have gone back to school should have been learning. Then you get postponed for a couple of weeks. You're not able to finish your units. You then end up losing a year. Or cumulatively, you lose a year. You should have been in school for 3 years. You're there for 4. You should have been in a 5-year course. You're there for 6. I mean, seriously, it's exhausting thinking about then what has to suffer in the balance when these things cannot then be agreed upon and then implemented. Agreeing is not difficult, right? I come and sit with you today and I tell you, look, let's do this, and we agree upon it. But implementation is a bottleneck that wields some consequences later that just cannot be dealt with. You don't implement it because, just exactly what you're saying. It's sufficient. You can actually make it work. You can actually have this cloth measured to the coat. You can. But for some reason, you just don't. And then we have this mess over and over and over again. Everlasting CBAs. My goodness.
If I can move on the country briefly, just briefly, in a sentence or two. Ethiopia has its problems right now, internal problems, but they are, in my mind, likely to get worse. The Renaissance Dam continues, and there were issues that were raised by Egypt and Sudan. The Blue Nile provides Egypt with 85% of its water. And the complaint had been with the building of this dam, it will restrict that flow of water tremendously. This matter appears, from all indications, not to have been addressed comprehensively. Let me repeat it. This is trouble brewing. Because you're talking about resource, a key resource that a country depends on, and they feel that it's going to be interfered with and hampered because of this one project, which you keep saying will be useful to you, but will be detrimental to us. I thought I would just mention it.
Have they proved how it will be detrimental to them?
Oh, they've been talking about it for the longest time.
Talking about it, yes.
And written
proven,
about it. And given documentation.
It goes back into historical injustices, I think, in the whole thing. of getting to a point where one country has signed up on behalf of several other countries and said that we have committed ourselves to never touching this water because it comes to this particular region and it serves. However...
But Eric, is that really the discussion? It's not the touching of the water.
No, I'm saying it starts with that historical injustice, because that's the same argument that would be used if we signed the Nile Treaty, the treaty of using water. Yes. So now we can never renegotiate that issue.
You can renegotiate it, but you see the problem with this one is that negotiation was never concluded. The dam started being built before before they had arrived.
It's called leverage. It's called building leverage.
It's called looking for trouble.
It's called building leverage.
It's called assuming that we're going to come to an agreement. So while we're still discussing, let's go ahead and start doing this thing.
There's a small matter of sovereignty.
No, Eric, you are right, because if you count even just the number of dams that Egypt has actually built on this very, very same Nile, okay? Yes, the issue is not the dam. The issue is the size of the dam.
And the impact
yes. You build a dam, there's always impact. There's no question about it.
It's said it's going to have on the users downstream.
You know, there is a political angle to it, as there always is. But so long as these things remain unresolved and Ethiopia has the issues that they're having, this situation, Sudan has the issues they're having. This is not an issue that in my mind is going to be resolved soon. You know why? Each country is going to focus their citizenry on this particular problem here.
Yeah, they'll say that this is where our problem is.
Yes, as opposed to settling the issues that they have internally.
It's instructive to note that the Prime Minister of Ethiopia has been doing a whirlwind tour of the world. He was recently in Uganda, then he went to Rwanda over the weekend. He has met with Paul Kagame, he's met with Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni. Last week he was in Turkey, wasn't he? Where he was meeting with Erdogan. So you can see there's something that he's building up to as the issues continue to happen internally in Ethiopia, with the Oromo, with the Amhara, with the Tigray, and like you said, City, yes, Ethiopia is likely to start coughing.
Yep.
And unfortunately, Kenya
probably going to catch the cold.
Oh, yes, we are.
Yep.
We are.
Coming up to the top of the hour, this is Kenya's biggest conversation, the Situation Room, broadcasting from Nairobi to Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, Eldoret, Nyeri, Malindi, and also broadcasting all over the world. We have people in South Africa, in
Grenada.
In Grenada, in Georgia, not Georgia, the one who called.
Which one?
The one in Tbilisi. The one whose capital is Tbilisi. It's Georgia.
It's Georgia.
Yep. Coming up to the top of the hour, this is Kenya's biggest conversation. In the next hour, we'll look at what has happened over the weekend politically. And then at 8 o'clock, Syokimau and the problems of this expressway. Good morning.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. Deputy President William Ruto said he's not worried with who is protecting him after GSU officers were removed from his residence. He says the government's decision to make changes to his security is a small matter that does not bother him at all. He says despite the changes, the police should continue to serve Kenyans, insisting that top on his agenda is to deal with the challenges facing the people if he is elected president.
Hii mambo ya GSU na AP na nini ni mambo madogo sana. Tusipoteze muda wetu mwingi. Mimi sina shida na AP wakikuja kusimamia mahali nini naishi. Na hata ikipatikana kazi ya AP, ikitokea kazi ingine ambayo imetokea ya muhimu kwa Wakenya wengine ambao wako na matatizo, wanaweza hata kulete G4S, wanaweza kunisaidia hapo nyumbani. There is no problem.
ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi took his campaign to Kiambu County as he continues to seek for votes ahead of next year's general election. He urged locals to evaluate all aspirants based on their performance, integrity and their vision for the Wananchi. He further asked leaders to allow IEBC to do its job as mandated by the constitution, free from any sort of interference.
Tunataka IEBC iwe independent, vile kanisa hii iko independent, watusimamie uchaguzi kwa Kenya, mama aende kupiga kura without intimidation, without fear, achague yule anataka. Na mimi ndio mimi nasema mnisaidie, muhula wa uhuru ukiisha, mimi niingie pale, tushikane bega kwa bega, mkono kwa mkono, tutimue pahali amewachia, tuende mbele, kila mtu apate nafasi, pesa zingie mfukoni.
ODM leader Raila Odinga is expected to give a full schedule of his campaigns in Mount Kenya as he continues to court the region for its votes ahead of the 2022 general elections. He urges Mount Kenya residents to support him in his cause, saying that he has good plans for them.
Na maana mnene mbaya mimi nitasema natoka kwa kwanza Jeremiah 29 fungu la 11, which says, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you." Ya pili, Psalms Mhubiri 133 fungu la kwanza tells us how good and pleasant it is when brothers dwell in unity.
Raila emphasized the need to ensure equity in the supply of resources in the area and pledged to fight for the rights of Mount Kenya people just like all other Kenyans across the country. And South Sudan National Police Service has deployed officers on the streets of the capital Juba and warned South Sudanese not to take part in today's scheduled nationwide protest against the government. A group calling itself the People's Coalition for Civil Action is organizing the protest after launching a public campaign for change in July, saying the revitalized transitional government of national unity led by President Salva Kiir is doing very little to address the many challenges facing the people of South Sudan. This is Newswire, Dennis Aseto.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Yes, indeed, building up quite some. We're looking at major traffic on Jogo Road this morning. Something is amiss. Trying to find out exactly what that is, or it could just be everybody out on the roads today. We know that schools after that short midterm getting back to school this morning, so quite some more traffic on the roads today. Uhuru Highway all the way from the Nyeri Stadium roundabout out towards Westlands and inbound as well. We have that traffic, and Langata Road now has piled up as is expected. More people getting on the roads this morning. We're also looking at traffic coming off of Thika Superhighway. Quite some this morning, and that is stretching all the way from Survey out then towards the Globe Cinema overpass. Very slow movement on that as well. Mombasa Road, yes indeed, quite a lot of traffic here this morning, and we're looking at that specifically between Sabaki and the SGR, and then out towards Cabanas. Folks are using Changombe to get out up there and then join with the ICD route, joining then to General Motors. Those are the options that we have. Southern Bypass looking pretty good, as is the Eastern Bypass. Use that if you're going towards Thika Road. Outer Ring also probably offering you a good option. SpiceFM KE this morning on Twitter. Text on 40127. Let's keep things moving this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
It is 6 minutes after 7. A very good morning to you, wherever you're tuned in. Zahir Ole Salim says Syokimau menace has already begun from Katani Road all the way, okay? But people who have joined the conversation, you wanted to acknowledge more and more. Yeah.
Quite a number of people online this morning. From Ghana, Frank Mayer Ochere, we can see you. Mugume Moses tuning from the UAE this morning. Senanga, Western Province of Zambia. That's where Alex Mukonda is tuned in from. Franceline Chisenya also is tuned in this morning. Nancy Anna tuned in from Zambia. And Habiba tuned in from Mombasa this morning. Changu Chimyumbenzenzu from Zambia as well. Quite a number of folk from Southern Africa. I'm happy to have you in the Situation Room this morning.
Karibuni sana. Siti. Today's proverb.
One should punish a child the first time he comes home with a stolen egg. Otherwise, the day he returns home with a stolen ox, it will be too late.
Yep. But why is it that people don't punish the child the first time the child will come with a stolen egg? Huyu mtoto.
How cute.
Surely.
Daddy na anapenda mayai. Now, you see, the thing is, it goes down to what people believe and what in their mind is an acceptable way of parenting. Rap on the knuckles, just a little, don't do that, daddy.
Yeah.
It starts with, don't jump on the chair.
Yeah.
There are visitors sitting on it.
Don't touch people's food.
That cup you've taken is for the visitor. But it is my cup.
Okay. It's okay. We'll bring another one.
Yes, no, that one. It starts that way. And it goes on to, but we didn't buy you that pencil. My friend gave it to me. Doesn't your friend need the pencil? My friend had 2 pencils. Okay, let it go. Hey. We sent you with the pair of shoes you are wearing in school. How come you've got another pair of shoes? My friend gave it to me. Your friend gave you a pair of shoes. So what is your friend wearing? My friend has another pair. Now, that's the point you go to school and find out, excuse me.
Who are these friends?
But you don't do that. Then what starts as a prank, because usually it's a prank, becomes a habit, becomes a way of life for this person. And before you know it, they consider that so long as they want it and they can take it, they will.
What?
Yes.
Before we look at what was happening in Mount Kenya over the weekend, Mount Kenya. There's a story, a very interesting story on page 3 of the Standard today. Paradise lost 3 siblings in epic battle for 2 billion shillings estate.
Yes.
Now, this is a story of a gentleman called Bogwa Mwangi and his wife, Christine Medhiri Mbogwa, who were by any measure filthy rich. They owned thousands of acres of prime land, including at least 2,475 acres in Laikipia County and more than 165 acres in Kiambu. They also owned an acre in Karen, half acre in Runda, 25 apartments in Kangemi, 260 acres in Kiambu Misarara Farm. Mr. Mwangi died in 1998, while his wife died in April 2017. She died without a will. Christine's wealth is estimated to be 2 billion shillings, including shares in Dunde Investments Limited, Mbushia Investments Limited, Mbumi Coffee Mills along Kiambu Road. This is the genesis of a vicious court battle pitting her children, because the children have now decided, no. Things are not going to be. See that land where Paradise lost his on Kiambu Road?
Yes.
It's one of those that we've just mentioned here. One of those many hundreds of acres. Okay? The Mbogwas are to be weighed on wealth scale. They're among the few Kenyans who own assets worth billions of shillings, but this wealth has become the bane of discontent in the family. In one of the cases before a commercial court, 3 siblings, Daniel Mwangi Mbogwa, Isaac Ishia Mbogwa, and Joseph Bai Mbogwa, attest that they cannot stick together to run a holding company, Ndunde Investments Limited, left behind by their parents. So what do they want? Tuachane. Kila mtu apewe yake aende kadil nayo. Okay? Now, they went before a judge, Justice Wilfrida Okwani, and last year, Justice Okwani ordered that Ndunde assets be subdivided and distributed equally among its 4 directors. That's Daniel, Isaac, Joseph, and their mother, Christine. She said that Christine's share in the company should be shared equally among her children. the company to settle the liabilities of the company, if any, upon the party's successful distribution of the assets and paying liabilities. The company will stand dissolved. However, there are still issues in court because one of the children still says has still filed injunctions. The others are also filing counter injunctions. So it's one of those where...
It's one of those where the lawyers are making money.
Yep. That's what you've seen.
Yes, because I'm listening to this whole saga, which it is clear it can be resolved. Why is it not being resolved? So long as the case is ongoing, the lawyer keeps invoicing.
The file is open.
Yes. They have agreed on one thing. Let us share. I liked...
The judge has ordered...
Share. So, why are there still issues? And they've said share equally. Some people feel they shouldn't share it equally. The judge even said, let the mother's share be also shared equally among the children. Now, you tell me, who takes these matters to court? It is their lawyers. All right? It reminds me of a quip I read on social media a while back. Remember, you heard me say this when we're getting the other monies from wherever we're getting them from. A Kenyan said, they've done their maths, okay? Can they be given theirs? You just, see, we are so many Kenyans, and this is this amount of money. So each of us, this is owed to us. Give me mine.
Give me mine.
Yes, I will tell you how I will pay it back. But this thing of putting it together so that you can build roads for me, I don't want. Just give me mine. Okay? That Kenyan understood it. Now, this is a family.
Brought up together.
Yes.
Not at, a polygamous family. No.
And this wealth they're
one
talking
father,
about,
one mother.
They didn't contribute to it. They found it.
Yeah.
So now they're actually being given what ought to be theirs. No. Lawyers are making money out of this thing here.
Oh, yeah.
Look, at the end of all these sagas, look at any of these famous stories where some rich parent passes away. At the end of the story, there'll always be a lawyer who's making a claim, and the claim is in some serious Kenya shillings. Always. We saw in the Matiba case, Njenga Karume case. You just take your pick.
Yep.
Take your pick.
It's very unfortunate.
There's this gentleman who passed away, the owner of Lanana Mount. Okay? Issues. Now, you tell me, who do you think is the one person who, it doesn't matter what you keep discussing, consistently benefits? It's not you. And the animosity continues. Some of these things go on for so long. Look at the Koinange property and the issues that have arisen from it. People have died, their children are now grown up. I mean, surely, who do you think, again, benefits from all this? It's the lawyers. They have no interest in this thing being settled. Why should it be settled?
Yeah, but the people who the lawyers are representing are adult human beings with a brain in their head. Now, you'd assume that the people would be seeing, okay, so this is not working to our benefit. This is the instruction we give our lawyer is this we want to settle. It's not the lawyer who's influencing the decision. The decision is actually...
Actually, we don't know. You know why? Well, let me tell you why I'm picking on the lawyers. The person who's going to give you details of what it is you stand to benefit from a legal position if you do this, it's not yourself. It's a lawyer. And you go to the lawyer when there's a disagreement. It's not as though they are all dealing with one lawyer. Everybody has their lawyer. Because if it was one lawyer, I would assume this thing would easily be settled. But the moment... I mean, look, when I say take your pick, I mean take your pick. In the other day here, John Michuki's children were also in the news for similar things.
Similar.
Yes.
And there's one who's actually now contesting a bill from a lawyer.
Yes. So what am I saying? I am saying I'm simply making a statement based on the things I see and read every day. Not what I'd like to think.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, over this weekend, we have seen leaders troop to Mount Kenya, right? ODM leader Raila Odinga was there. Kalonzo Musyoka has been speaking to Mount Kenya, where we've seen Musalia Mudavadi was also attending a church service in this region. Somebody else who is also declaring interest to be President of the Republic, Jimmy Wanjeke, was also in Mount Kenya campaigning. Who else was there? William Ruto was in Nakuru, but he has been to Mount Kenya region several times. Speaker Justin Muturi is also doing his rounds around Mount Kenya. So this is one area that is being considered as the girl to court. What is it that Raila said yesterday? He was addressing people of Kangari, Murang'a County after he attended a church service. And he said, you know what? There's what this region needs. And there's the assurances that this region needs to receive. Shall you continue receiving? Shall you receive services from your government? Yes. If it is my government, you will receive services. If it is my government, you will not be discriminated against. For I know the plans I have for you, says Raila. He quoted a Bible verse.
Jeremiah.
Yeah, it's Jeremiah what?
29:11.
Bas. What does it say? For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. Plans to do you good.
Good and not for evil. To give you a future and a hope.
There you go. Now, you take those words and listen to them.
Sheesh.
Are they not promising?
From God or Raila?
From both.
Hey, jeez.
Are they not promising?
They are. You must be honest.
I have good plans for you. What I mean is, I mean well. I mean well for you. Musalia was saying the same kind of things, and he was saying, you know what, we are in this region and we need to work together as a community of Kenyans, and we shall work together. Why is Mount Kenya being so courted?
My friend, from a political perspective, it isn't a reason. There are many reasons, very many reasons. One, just the population alone. That voting block is a serious voting block.
It's about 40% of the vote.
It is a game-changing voter block. If you're talking about a block, number one. Number two, that particular region has just about the wealthiest Kenyans known, dead and or alive. Which means they have resources. Now, if we just pause there for a while and ask ourselves, are resources of the nature I'm speaking of important in our politics? I'd say they're pivotal. So, why are they pivotal? Because resources means influence. So, if you really want to lead this particular country by being the president, a little attention to that region becomes fundamental to everything that you're going to do.
Is it attention being given unto inclusivity, or is it attention being given because there's much to gain from there for yourself as an individual? So everybody who keeps saying, we must include Mount Kenya in this conversation, it is not necessarily because you want to include them, because you want to have a 360 view of the country. You want to include everybody. I'm going to go to Western, I'll go to Mount Kenya, I'll go to the coast, I'll go to Eastern Kenya. It then could be seen that it's purely for those reasons that you mentioned. Because right now, I want to woo you as best I can. And then when I get that which I want from you, then I'm done. Because I see that you have the numbers. I see that you have influential individuals and communities. So I want to take that to be able to get me on this platform. And then once I'm done with you, it's finished. So is it not just a higher replication of what we see in any other part of the country, that I'm going to come to you and tell you whatever I must tell you? I'll go to the coast and I tell you, you know what? No need for you to have a political party. Let's just continue what it is that we were doing. Well, we can come together and do this. I'm going to come to Mount Kenya because for the very same things that I've seen. I see you've got numbers. I see you have influence in terms of money. So I'm going to come to you and I'll tell you whatever I need to be able to get you on my side. Once you've put me in the position that I need, then you are of no use to me anymore.
Just look at the inverse for a single second. Let's not talk gain. Let's look at loss. If you do not pursue this course of action, what do you stand to lose?
If you don't include Mount Kenya in your politics?
If you do not consider them to be important enough to be given that amount of attention, what do you stand to lose?
Well, you lose chunks in terms of numbers.
40% of the vote.
Yeah, numbers in terms of the vote that would come to you, you lose.
So from a political perspective, even if you don't get the 40, and you're going to get a big chunk of it, the threshold you need is actually just 25% in those counties, in all those counties. If you can get that 25%, just 25%
in each of
those counties, then you know you're doing really well. You're doing really, really well politically. You don't need the 40, just 25% in each of those counties. If you look at what you stand to gain, you really have to juxtapose it to what you stand to lose. Remember, a region that for the longest time, with reference to Raila Odinga, has had the man demonized, has had the man presented as the devil with or without a tail, breathing fire with horns, and generally the devil incarnate. So if you really think that you need to have these people change their mind, I think the simplest thing to do is to go and talk to them directly.
Is it really about changing minds or to know their minds?
It's a combination of all that and a little more. Because most people feel that if you are a political candidate at whatever level, they need to see you and they need to hear you speak. One may think it's not important. It's absolutely crucial. We've never seen this person. We've never heard him speak. Why is so-and-so speaking on his behalf? Tell him to come and talk to us. That is the thinking. So this, if you ask me, this trooping to Central Kenya is let us be seen and let us talk to these people of Central Kenya so that they may hear us.
There's also something else that I'm noticing, and this is the kind of trooping that we are seeing by the top political leaders into Mount Kenya this time is heightened more than before. It wasn't like this in 2017, not like this in 2013, not in 2007, not in 2002.
It's never been.
Never been.
It's never, ever.
And it points to a certain assumption that this vote-rich region is up for grabs. And the assumption then leads to include the fact that the expectation is that Mount Kenya will not have a presidential candidate this time. For the first time ever, this region is not expected to have a candidate who's strong enough then to get the 40% vote as a block or even to split.
It's a good point you make.
Is that a true assumption, or is that assumption really well informed?
If you're talking about politics, it is ill-informed. But there's something else that I must add to this particular basket, even as we move along. They have the deputy president to thank for all this.
Who's they?
All these political leaders. And why I'm saying they have the deputy president to thank for all this, because the deputy president made a foray into that region with great energy, zeal, and zest, long before any of these got there. And he is the one who has had voices, leaders in that region speaking out on his behalf openly. So clearly, all the optics were that this man has garnered for himself support in this region. Visibly so. So anyone who is in a competition would look at what his competitor is doing and say, you know something?
I can also go and get something.
I might as well go and get see what I can get from this particular
I can
region.
go and grab something from there.
Yes, exactly. That's what I'm saying. They have him to thank, because if it wasn't, do you really think, for instance, because he's considered by us in the media, by people who observe that he's a serious contender, if he hadn't made those forays, the energy we are seeing being poured into Central Kenya by the politician, do you really think they would be at the same level?
Maybe not.
But that was just a by the way. Back to the point that you make. The assumption that there'll be no one from Central Kenya making a stab at it, that is misinformation of the highest possible order. All these people are politicians. The only thing that is certain is the president has said he is not. He is going home.
He's done.
He's going home. He has said so. So which means other people from the region who may have had thinking, inkling, desire to ascend to that seat, they now have an opportunity also.
And couldn't it be because nobody has come up in that nature, the way in which we see others right now? That because nobody has come up to openly say that I will be the one who will come out.
People have come
right?
up.
People have said. They have.
Hold on.
Yeah.
With that perceived strength that you're talking about, and that is the reason why you see everybody trooping there, because they say, hold on, our perception is that nobody strong
There's no
enough
strong person in
has
Mount
come
Kenya
out to say
who can
that
galvanize
they,
the votes of Mount Kenya.
So we are now going to present ourselves as the option, because if what is coming out, we don't feel as though they can actually lead the pack. So we are going there in the way in which we are seeing them go, like we've never seen before. We are going out there to let people know, look here, because the option that has come out right now is not...
It's nothing big. So if we look at Mwangi Kionjori, Mwangi Wairia, Who else? Speaker Justin Muthui. Who else has a political party and they're moving and they've declared? Okay, now Jimmy Wanjigi has also declared. If you look at all these people who have declared interest and they have their backyard as Mount Kenya, it's basically saying that everybody else is looking at them and thinking, really? You think you can get those votes? No, you can't. I'm coming for the votes. This is the assumption. That these guys have looked at these people, they're like, you cannot even get the votes outside your own constituency. If it's Mwangi Kionjori, you are in Laikipia, you will not even get enough votes in Laikipia. If it's Mwangi Wairia, you are in Muranga, you are not going to get many more votes in Muranga. You cannot even get votes in Kiambu. If it's you, Justin Muturi, you will get the votes of the Mbere. Not even the Embu will vote for you. That's the assumption here. That therefore then we are now coming to grab those votes because you can't get them.
It's a bullish assumption and one that should not be done.
No. Eric is presenting it as a presumption. But if you look at political optics, if you look at this whole situation through the purple-tinted glasses of politics, and unfortunately it bespeaks of the truth. Because if they actually thought that there were individuals in that region who are considered strong enough, there'd be a lot more talk about alliances and groupings and what have you. You hear it everywhere, except there. It's like, okay, you've got your own little troop, little thing you're gathering together. Okay, that's fine. You gather it, but while you're gathering it, as we're full steam ahead in your region.
We're coming there.
Yes.
And the most you'll get is maybe a running mate.
Yes.
Maybe a running mate.
That if one presents that as a perspective, that perspective is not far-fetched. It's not far-fetched at all.
But there's something that you've ever talked about, City, and this is the thinking of the people in this region.
Yes.
From the colonial days, and you've talked about these people lost their land.
They did.
And they had to fight for it.
Yes, they did.
After independence, well, in the 21 years of Moi rule, they felt that they were sort of pushed to the back burner.
My friend, not just felt, many knew that they had been pushed to the back burner completely. And when we talk about regions that have been neglected, people in that region felt they were neglected.
So that formed the energy with which they moved into the multi-party, into the opposition.
Yes, they did.
Well, they were not going to the opposition at the point. They were going into multi-partyism so that they can have a vehicle.
Yes.
Supporting Kenneth Matiba, Mwai Kibaki in large numbers.
Yes.
It's because they were feeling this is our time now to actually get something back.
You know, it's
97 supporting Mwai Kibaki, 202 supporting Mwai Kibaki, not even as much getting support for Uhuru Kenyatta. It was the same. It's a thing of we have lost it before, we don't want to lose it again. Do you think they'd get to 2022 and feel, it's okay, we can't lose it?
They won't. You see, there's this thinking, when people say we've been marginalized, what really are we saying? Are we saying that we have stopped being in the privileged position that we once were, and that we are now being treated like ordinary Kenyans?
Like everybody else.
Yes, who's not privileged? Or are we saying that we actually have been marginalized? If you look at the presidency, the first presidency that we had, Jomo Kenyatta's, there are people within those circles who benefited immensely from the presidency. Now, unfortunately, the moment Jaramogi Oginga Odinga left government, the optics were there. Central Kenya were in charge of everything. By the time you have 6 ministers coming from Kiambu, not at the greater Central Kenya. You go to Muranga, you find one minister. The name was Julius Kiano. You go to Nyeri, you find Kibaki. You go to Embu, you find Nyaga. You go to Meru, you find Harvester Angaine. Full stop. You go to the coast, you find Robert Matano. Coast, and I'm talking coast, that entire region. Okay? A few others joined in later, maybe from Taita. And you look at the whole country. It's the association we have with success that make people think that we benefit when one of our own is there. Just the association. It doesn't necessarily mean that you benefit directly. And then what accompanied that was coffee, a product that was subject to the vagaries of nature. After a period in the 70s when there was a lot of money made in coffee, people became multimillionaires from coffee. Nature does its thing. Brazil doesn't have a frost. And now your coffee is competitive. You're not making as much money as you could. But it was coupled with the government not putting enough effort in that sector to shield the farmers from the vagaries of nature. If this is what you earn a living from, the roads that you knew you would use, the infrastructure, neglected, not I think were neglected. What option do you think these people had?
But I still ask, what is being courted here? And I'm still asking, what is being courted? Is it that inclusivity from these years of frustration whereby you had to fight back for your land and saying, okay, well, here, this could actually be a ticking time bomb. And if we don't include them always in the national politics, we will have a problem. Or is the numbers and the resources that they have by nature of where they are what is being courted here? What are the politicians looking at when they face Mount Kenya? No pun intended. But when they face it, what are they actually looking at? The numbers or inclusivity?
It's a little more complex than that. What you're saying is actually true, but also when you look at the region, you must understand how the political class in that region has represented that region. Because when you say region, you cover everybody, including the citizens, who have no say in some of these things. Not really, not directly, beyond voting for the person. What do you think goes through the minds of the people who have tasted power? And remember, at independence, there were two communities who had seen it more than anybody else, the Luos and the Kikuyus. So if suddenly one of your own was not in power, the assumption is everything that happens to you that is negative is because you don't have one of your own to stand up for you.
Yes.
And then you would have the government of the day fulfilling your worst fears.
Even when they were actually there was nothing that they did for us, which is a cry that we have heard actually quite loudly
in this particular term.
This particular administration,
but
this last term.
Let me tell you something. It's something that is a bit thorny and tricky to discuss, but it must be said, okay? If people believe something to be the truth, that will be their truth. So whatever else you want to say about it, they will hear you, but they will have believed that this is actually what is happening. There is no place in this country, none whatsoever, where people were displaced from their land and moved around and entire social structures reorganized like Central Kenya. None. So it's just a fact. None. Do you think, therefore, that their thinking would be misplaced if they did not feel that politically they were not secure if one of their own was not in a position of authority?
That's the thing. And so when you're courting all of them like this, are you assuming that, or is it just trying to, inundate them with all this information that they believe that actually, no, we don't need to have one of our own in a position of authority. If this person has come and they have promised us, shall take their word for it.
And then adding
let's
to
take
that,
a break.
after all, in the last few minutes, we didn't actually see that there was that major support for us anyway.
26 minutes to 8 o'clock. Let's take this break. Who's this Hussein? Methinks 3/4 of Mount Kenya numbers plus deep state will equal to victory irrespective of other regions' outcome. Kenya's transition politics have been tradition tied to one must receive the blessings of the states. Do you agree with that? In which direction should Mount Kenya face in 2022? That's a conversation we're having. Good morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
When you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. We don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us, assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason, We are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokovu is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. Ni mtu wa Jeshi la Wokovu.
And everyone knows. Okay.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
The haze
weather
over the
with
Nairobi
SpiceFM.
skies this morning, just a little bit. The sun trying to peek through that dust. Highs of 27 and lows of 14 today. Mostly cloudy conditions at 14 in Nyeri. Highs of 25. 25 will also be the high in Nakuru, where it's partly sunny at 16. Mostly cloudy conditions at 14 in Eldoret with highs of 23. It'll come down to lows of 13. 19 will be the low in Kisumu. It's sunny at 21, going to highs of 30. We'll see highs of 30 in Kakamega as well. 18 degrees and sunny. Mostly sunny conditions at 25 in Mombasa with highs of 29. It'll come down to lows of 23. 22 and sunny in Malindi with highs of 29 and lows of 22. Mostly sunny conditions at 20 in Kampala with highs of 30 and lows of 18. 31 will be the high in Dar es Salaam today. It's sunny at 22 and it'll come down to lows of just that. 5 degrees and sunny in Johannesburg, highs of 19 and lows of 5. And it's still raining in Lagos at 25, highs of 29 and lows of 24. 33 will be the high in Kinshasa, where it's clear at 21. That'll be the low for today.
Spice up your life.
Okay, yes, Mombasa Road still giving up those vibes this morning. It looks like it's going to be some time before we get out of this one. Monday morning and a lot more people on the roads than there were Friday. Hopefully we will not have a mess. Epic proportions like we saw last week. But we're going to have to keep our eyes open and see what's happening with that. Jogo Road also quite tight, heading out into Landis Road and then into the city centre. Moving along slowly. It's moving, so this is a good thing. It's also moving along Atta Road, but not too quickly. We have some traffic heading out towards the T-Mall roundabout, so we're going to watch out for that. Bagathi Way, however, is looking good. And it'll take you to the roundabout at the City Mortuary, and then you can connect with Gong Road out into the city centre via Valley Road. You're going to get into the city centre, however, and things are locked tight. All the way from the Huru Highway roundabout, Nyeri Stadium roundabout, through to Westlands in the CBD. A lot of traffic. My goodness. Whatever is happening on Thika Road, I am sorry in advance because it is bad. Kiambu Road is jam-packed, as is Thika Road all the way from Survey through to the Globe Cinema overpass. It's that manic Monday. Bypasses, however, are looking good. Use those. Are you stuck somewhere? We also have that terrible accident that happened Outer Ring and it's causing heavy traffic going towards Mtindwa. Watch out for that, guys. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice, everything nice. SpiceFM.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
It's 21 minutes to 8 o'clock.
Nairobi.
This is Kenya's biggest conversation. This is the Situation Room with Eric Latif, Nduoko, and CT Muga. John Ochako is asking on Twitter, do you have a podcast where we can catch up on the show? Sometimes we miss shows, but there's some rich content that we don't get caught up on. Yes, you can actually find all these conversations on YouTube. Our channel is SpiceFM KE, or on Facebook, where we are also live streaming. So you'll find the entire show, SpiceFM KE, on Facebook or Twitter, SpiceFM KE. We'll give you a link on there to podcast. But if you also would like to get highlights of the show, you can text the word TSR to 22840. That's TSR to 22840. In which direction is Mount Kenya facing? Or is it that everybody's facing Mount Kenya, or is it Mount Kenya facing outwards? Remember, we had a conversation with Martha Karua, the party leader of NARC Kenya. Mm-hmm. And this is soon after they had a meeting with other party leaders. There was New Democrats, there was Mwangi Kiunjuri's party, and many others. And they had met in Limuru, and they agreed to meet again. And what they were saying they're doing is they're coming together with their demands, basically crystallizing the demands. All these people who are now trooping towards Mount Kenya will be told, okay, so you want our support? Pledge to implement this. something we have to consider. The likelihood of the demands by the Mount Kenya being unrealistic is high. Unrealistic in terms of, if I take these ones up, then that means that I'm going to give you 80% of the budget to the detriment of everybody else. The likelihood of any of these presidential contenders actually coming up and signing and saying, yeah, on hii peke yake, that's fine, I sign, may be low. So what is it that those leaders are actually gunning up for?
I think they know very well that some of those demands may be a little over the top. They know that these are politicians, these are seasoned politicians. They know very well. You must give yourself bargaining room.
So start high.
Yeah, you
aim
know that's
for
the minimum. No. See, this is where we'd like, essentially, it's aspirational. This is where we'd like to get to. Now, tell us where you think you can start that will guarantee that we'll get there.
I think also placing the reality on the table that is not, we're not just going to roll over and say, okay, whatever it is that you want, come and do here. I think also placing that reality or the existence of that bargain on the table, knowing that we have something that we can gain here, right? In as much as we may not have what you would perceive as a powerful contender to come and rule again, we're not just going to let it slide. So knowing that as you come to us, I think also having that reality there, knowing that as you come to us, we're definitely going to ask for something. And also on the other side, realizing, okay, we know that should we be given this opportunity, we're not going to give them everything they want. But we both are on opposite sides, realizing that we're going to have to offer something. This side also knowing we're definitely going to ask for something. It's not just going to be a walk in the park.
It stands to reason because politically speaking, you're saying we also need to be at the big table discussing big things with everybody.
Whether or not we have somebody who is in that position of leadership again.
Yes. And what brought this to the fore more than anything else? 2008 and the problems we had in the Rift Valley. Prior to that, we had what you call tribal clashes, which oddly enough only seemed to favor many settlements where you had Kikuyus living in, within the Rift Valley. If you neighbored them like the Rift Valley or the Kalenjin, as I do, you also had issues, okay? And when you talk to your neighbors, they would tell you, actually, don't forget telling you, you would actually see they had also been attacked. So you wonder, it isn't neighbors fighting neighbors. It's an external body coming in to bring about this particular. If you happen to be in that position, you would look and you'd say, we really need to ensure that we look after our interests because lived experience.
So as you say, politics is about interests.
Yes, it is.
All right. So this large block of people who share some historical ties comes together and says, these are our interests. Or rather, their political leaders appear to be speaking for everybody else and they say these are the interests. And then other regions speak the same, right? So we have the coast are speaking the same. We have got Western who've been trying to speak the same. We've got the up North Rift who've been trying to speak the same. The South Rift, not so much. Or the Ma community, there was a time when there was a great move by the Ma community to speak with one voice and say something. Actually, it's still there with Olelenku as their leader now. Is this a good way to go as a country? Where we have all these people who now band themselves into groups and say, these are our interests, and we're going to be pushing for these interests. Knowing the history of our country, knowing where we have been as a country, when you see such a large block, for example, that represents about 40-45% of the vote coming up with their demands, what shall happen to the smaller votes, to these communities which have 1-5%?
The thing is this, if those blocks were the only reality of our political landscape, then I would say we have a serious cause for worry, but it isn't. Even within those blocks, there'll be the unity talk, but there'll also be divisions, because even within those same areas, look at any area you want to think of, there'll be the talk of this grouping, but there are people who have their little parties, there are people who have their own little interest, there are people who belong to other parties that are not necessarily from that region. Now, it's this dichotomy, it's this situation, this diversity that actually brings about or helps bring about the stability that we see. So, yes, there's the talk of us as a people from this region, yes, but after that talk, there's okay, we've understood, but there's this little thing about my area and where I come from. There's a little, and then even at that level, you get even more granular. Say, no, okay, we've got that, but now this region that I come from, this ward, that discussion doesn't go away. You're asking, is it a bad thing? I think that it is a discussion that is actually, should we say, a little behind time. And I'm going to explain why I'm saying it a little behind time.
Mm-hmm.
That regional amalgamations were created by the county system. It already exists. It's a government structure. Interests of the people are taken care of theoretically. The discussion only makes sense so long as everything is still at the center and over 80% of the resources are at the center. Then you can understand why that big debate is there. That debate is watered down almost completely if devolution actually lives up to its name. And you find that many of the services that people who troop to Nairobi for are already available and are financed at that particular level. So if you ask me, a lot of this discussion has to do with the reality that if we push this agenda, more resources will come to our regions and we'll be able to do what we need to do. And everyone will. So you cannot say that you don't have what it takes to do what or to bring about what your people require. Any grouping is essentially for relevance. And it often means you're either afraid of the relevance you have being watered down, or you are afraid that you've been taken for granted long enough and this will continue to your great detriment and loss. So you're asking me the question, or you're asking the question, is it important? It is important.
It's an important conversation.
Yes.
As we talk about this, you see, you'll find that some of these regions with very many voters will go in one ideology of how to share the revenue, the resources.
Yes.
1 man, 1 shilling. Okay? Then you have the others, like the one that was being represented by Abdikadir Mohammed when we hosted in here. And he was talking about 1 kilometer, 1 shilling. Now, even if we say that those issues shall be resolved at county level, there's a whole discussion of this 80% that goes to the counties, in which counties is a vast majority of this money going? And what is the formula used? Is it on kilometers or is it on population? Still, we have the same problem.
You know, I laugh. You'd be amazed at how discussions of a similar nature take place across the world. In the Amazonia, you're talking about the vast Amazon and the countries it traverses. There has been this serious debate. And the monkeys, they always bring it down to the monkeys, and the snakes more important than people. And you know why it's phrased that way? You want to clear land for farming. You want to clear land for
industrial development.
Yes. And they're saying, no, you must protect the Amazon and the heritage, and every other environmental discussion now takes place. And people are saying, you really need to balance it, because extremity on both sides is not useful. Now, you ask the question, okay, here we are. When the money is divided, should we look at the acreage of land that is there vis-a-vis the people? Should we? When the equalization fund was created, they did that maths. And it was a good thing. They did the maths and they realized, we need to balance it, and this is how we balance it. Because some people truly were neglected. Honestly, were neglected, and they need to catch up. To put it in very lay terms, if only the actualization fund could be actualized.
Let's take a quick short break to just speak to one person. Boniface Kioko is a resident of Syokimau. We'll be having a Syokimau conversation at 8 in the next hour with some 2 residents of Syokimau. But Boniface is stuck in traffic. Is that so, Boniface?
Not really now,
Yeah.
but we've been sleeping on the road almost every other day because of the traffic jam. These diversions they are doing at night, when we come in the morning, there is a lot of traffic jam. That is one. Secondly, the trenches they are digging. They are digging all over. There are no signage. So people keep on overlapping all the time. A lot of dust. Some people are falling on the trenches. So we've been having a lot of problems.
It's been chaotic.
It has been chaotic because of the dust.
Tell us about this dust. Is it dust from the diversions?
Yes. Okay. It is dust. It is happening in different ways. One, wherever they are working, they are not watering the road.
All right.
That is number one. Number two, I stay along Airport Road where they are dumping this soil. Throughout the night, the trucks are running up and down. Whenever we try to wash our cars in the evening, in the morning it's very dusty. Like right now, I'm in the office. The car is very dirty, very dirty. So you can imagine people who are sleeping.
Yeah.
We are inhaling that dust throughout the night.
Boniface, we have your resident association leadership joining us in the studio in the next 10 minutes. Stay on the line. I mean, don't stay on the line. Just keep tuned, and you'll hear what they're saying. And when you open up the phone lines, you can also call in and contribute into what people are saying in Syokimau, right?
Okay, I'll do that.
Asante sana. The conversation around on what's happening in Syokimau coming up in the next 9 minutes. Tony is also in Syokimau. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you, Eric. I'm a resident of Syokimau. I think there's much that can be done on this Syokimau issue. Yeah? I live just about a kilometer away from Mombasa, and I can tell you the dust in my house is just unbearable.
Where is the dust from?
The dust is from the construction that is ongoing on Mombasa Road. And I think it's a simple thing. I don't know why the contractor cannot just water this road. It is just an headache. And I think this is just torturing, the residents of Syokimau area and those people that live in that environment.
That's very true.
So,
thank you, Tony. So just keep tuned, and you'll hear how the conversation goes.
Correct.
Yep. So coming up at 8 o'clock is that conversation on what's happening with the construction of the Nairobi expressway, especially to the residents of Syokimau and that area. As we conclude in the conversation about Mount Kenya, what is happening in Mount Kenya? Kennedy is on who was saying, look, you don't just need the vote of Mount Kenya. Who the president says is his preferred candidate will also sway the vote in Mount Kenya. Do you think so?
You see the thing, because look, I think there have been divergent views coming out of the region. And we heard this. In the last 1 year, we've heard louder and louder voices talking about the fact that they are unsatisfied with the way in which things have been going. And this is a direct connection to the fact that they've not been able to feel as though development has come to them, right? So it would appear as though it wouldn't matter what the president said. If he says today, support this person, because you have a growing number of people who were dissatisfied with the way things were going in these last few years of the administration, it wouldn't matter what he said. It wouldn't matter to them.
You simply be saying the president has lost the mountain.
I think that I think that there's some people, because of the fact that they did not feel as if development did not reach them in the manner in which they expected it to by virtue of the fact that they were from Mount Kenya, that they would be, at this moment, quite frustrated. And it wouldn't matter who said what. They were going to be going on that premise that, look, you know what? We expected that because there is somebody who is at the top position of leadership in this country from our backyard, that we should be the recipients of 1, 2, 3. Should that not happen in any way, shape or form? Should it even happen in half, a quarter, and they're not satisfied? Moving forward, it doesn't matter. And those frustrations are being felt. We hear them. We see them.
It's one thing to hear from the horse's mouth. I recall a year and a half ago when I visited a friend of mine who comes from that region during the holidays, and he has this function at his home, and his village mates came in. Now, what I found interesting, many of his village mates were retired village mates, were really very prominent people in their time. And so I had an opportunity to ask them, this thing I hear that there's a disenchantment with the president in your region, what is it? And the thing that came out of that discussion, they told me, some of us are poor when we did not need to be poor. And I wanted an explanation. They said, look, something that is happening that is very strange. Some of us have been doing business with the government for a long time. We are not getting paid. Some of us have loans. We can't service them. Some of us are doing business with the county. The county then tells you that they have not received money, so they can't pay us. So whatever business you did, whatever you expected, you end up with a net loss. which had you not got into that business before, you wouldn't have. Said, this is our beef. We are not asking for favors. We are simply asking for an enabling environment so that what is owed to us is... That's all. We do not wish to be given free gifts.
But isn't that what should be given to the entire country? It shouldn't matter what region you're from. This is the environment that should be created across board. But this is what I'm saying.
Everybody in the country is complaining, isn't it?
Yes. But then if we're talking about this particular region, they said we should have been able to get it by virtue of the fact that our person sits in this position. We can't run away from that reality. That once your person, quote unquote, your person is in a position of leadership, the unexpected perception, outspoken or salient, is that we will benefit by virtue of the fact that they are there.
I think also the people who are complaining, let's say the people who are complaining in Mount Kenya, would complain whether the president was from the region or not. It is now only emerging and sounding as if it's loud because the president is from the region. But they would be complaining. The same way the people of Mount Kenya are complaining, it's the same way people of Western Kenya are complaining. The same way people of Eastern Kenya and Coast are complaining.
Same.
It's the same across the board. But now it sounds like it's amplified here because, but this is your person.
But it
Our person what?
Yes, and it would be amplified whether it was Mount Kenya, whether it was you had a president from the coast, and the same thing was happening, whether you had a president from Western Kenya. It's tinged with that bitterness because there is that initial perception that because our person is there, it should be all right for us, right? And there's also the perception from everybody around that, okay, your person is there. You guys are going to get the longer end of the stick.
There's also the other way you could look at it. It's not necessarily because our tribesman is there, we should have gotten more favors. It's we trusted this person, we voted for them, and we expected them to deliver.
Oh, it sounds prettier, but
right? We expected them to deliver. Whether it's for us or for the entire country, we expected them to deliver. Now they haven't delivered. It's a frustration with the person that you voted for. Not because they were your tribe's person, that was one of the reasons, but you voted for this person, they have not delivered. Whether they are yours, they are not yours, you're just, bottom line, you feel frustrated.
Let me ask you,
I'm saying salt is poured a little bit, the wound is a little bit more painful, and that's what I'm saying.
Because it's your cousin.
Exactly. And we can't run away from that reality.
The point
that
you're making
it's
an extremely valid point.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's an extremely valid point. Okay? But also...
You sound like you're trying to placate me.
I am trying to placate you. If I sound...
But
I am.
also...
But...
And if also, but look, we really must balance political reality with what is the actual reality, as we say on the ground, okay? And on this one, what you say is true, but if these individuals that I spoke to had actually been paid what was due to them, would they be complaining?
No, they wouldn't.
Very simply. Throughout this country, anyone who's done business with the county will tell you it's a net loss-making exercise. Very many. And they'll explain to you why it's a net loss-making. And yet, the central government even doles out specific money for paying vendors. Specific. The president must be getting hoarse on this subject.
Well, so they tell us.
Yes.
Kenya's biggest conversation. Let's hear the news, and then after the news, we speak the Syokimau conversation. Okay, so what's been happening on the roads? I've seen somebody saying, Peter Ochungo, he's a doctor. Mombasa Road at Mlolongo Syokimau is absolutely nightmarish. Carry some packed lunch.
Lunch even.
Carry some packed lunch. And that was just 5 minutes ago. This is what's happening on the road. So what exactly is going on with this particular project? We had the people in charge of it here last week. Now let's hear from the residents who have been suffering. Good morning. It's 8 a.m.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. 363 people tested positive for COVID-19 from a sample size of 4,594 tested in the last 24 hours. The positivity rate is now 7.9%, with total confirmed infections rising to 234,952. From the cases, 359 are Kenyans, while 4 are foreigners, 193 are males and 170 are females. Residents from Western Kenya have to battle with the decision of who they will vote for in the 2022 general elections. This after Kakamega Senator Cleophas Malala disagreed with Shinyalu MP Justus Kisitu over who should be supported by the region between ANC leader Musalia Mudavadi and ODM's Raila Odinga. Senator Malala, who is an ANC member, said Mudavadi is the best option.
Mimi mnajua mimi nina chama changu na wale wengine mna chama chenu. Sasa wewe uza mandazi yako na mimi nauza sambusa zangu. ODM.
Nimesikia ndugu yangu hapa Kizito akisema ati kila mtu auze mandazi yake, si tuuze mandazi yetu, yeye auze samosa yake. Hiyo ni sawa, lakini sisi tutauza mandazi kwa sababu iko halali. Hapa ANC iko halali. Mtu yoyote atakuja hapa aanze kuuza chama kingine kama sio ANC, tunakamata yeye.
Section of Muslim leaders drawn from the National Muslim Forum have urged President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto to end their political differences. Speaking in Nairobi, the national chairperson Sheikh Abdullahi Abdi urged the president and his deputy to bury their differences and end the tension that is building up in the country because of the frosty relationship between them.
The Kenyan public is being treated to a public display of utter hostility between the head of state and his deputy. These offices are bestowed with great honor by our constitution and trust by the people of Kenya and should not be demeaned. We therefore call on President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto to give Kenyans a break. Kenyans gave you the mandate to govern on the basis of our constitution and laws.
Kupet Trans Nzoia branch has called on the government to finance Teacher Service Commission to enable recruitment of more teachers so as to achieve the 100% transition from primary to secondary schools. Trans Nzoia Secretary Furaha Lusweti said it is wise for the government to strengthen infrastructure in all educational institutions to be able to meet the COVID-19 protocols.
Watoto wanapokuwa wengi, workload ya walimu inakuwa kubwa. Kwa hivyo tunaomba kwamba as 100% transition takes effect, he should also think about increasing money to the Teacher Service Commission to employ enough teachers to reduce the workload of the teachers who are already in the field. Aongeze miundo misingi katika shule zetu. Children, when they come, should have a place where they can be able to sit and learn.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Okay, there's a lot of traffic on Mombasa Road to be expected at this time. We're seeing quite a lot of it also on Jogo Road heading out into the city. Langata Road also quite packed as we're looking at today. Upper Hill, my goodness, what's going on here today? Keeping an eye on that as well. Coming off of Thika Superhighway, quite packed. Kiambu Road feeding off onto the Thika Superhighway. Absolute mess. So we're looking at that connecting with Muranga Road, coming in from Kipande Road, coming in from Limuru Road as well. Quite a lot of traffic. Landis Road into the Kamkunji roundabout also doesn't look too fun. We're looking at that outer ring area. Donholm, there was an accident there this morning. A lot of traffic then going towards Mtindwa. So that whole Umoja Buruburu Phase 2 area doesn't look good at all because of that accident, yet to be cleared up. So we're going to keep an eye on things. Southern Bypass is also looking good. Heading out into the Eastern Bypass is all right, but then we have that traffic coming off of there that is messing things up completely. This was the Monday you didn't hope to wake up to in terms of traffic, but we're going to plow through. Help us out here, guys. SpiceFMKE on Twitter. That's how you can get in touch. Text on 40127. Let's try to keep things moving.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latif, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is the Situation Room. The only way
A very
to start
good
your
morning
day.
to you, wherever you are. Very good morning. It's 5 minutes after 8. Kenya's biggest conversation enters the third hour. Okay, so we are live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and we are also on our website, www.spicefm.co.ke. We are also live on KTN Home for the next 1 hour from now until 9 o'clock, in addition to being on SpiceFM. So let us begin with the day's proverb, City Muga.
One should punish a child the first time they come home with a stolen egg. Otherwise, the day he returns home with an ox, it will be too late.
One should punish a child the first time they come home with a stolen egg.
Yes, otherwise.
Otherwise.
On the day they return home with a stolen ox, it will be too late.
Where is this proverb from, City?
The lovely continent.
So those people from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
Africans with their long stories called proverbs.
Yes, this is an African way of explaining how it is. Teach a child in the way that they should grow, and when they're older, they will not depart from it.
Mm.
If you teach irresponsibility, when they're adult and grown up, they'll still be responsible. In fact, they'll now be genuinely irresponsible. If you teach them to be responsible, on the other hand, when they grow up, they will be responsible.
Responsible as they grow up. Okay. So let's have the conversation on Syokimau and what's been happening. We have for a number of days talked about this. The Nairobi Expressway project, which begins in Syokimau, right there at after Mlolongo, goes all the way to ABC Place. How many kilometers again? 21, 27? 27 kilometers. Okay. This project was discussed and then it was launched by the president and the people who are overall in charge of it are the Kenya National Highways Authority, and then there's a contractor on site who's going to run this thing on a PPP for a number of years. There are very many other people who are involved in the project, and these are the people who, for example, Kenya Power, who needed to move the lines, Nairobi Water and Sewerage Company, who needed to move the pipes, other people who provide internet services, and they are private companies, and they needed to also come and move their lines. And then the critical stakeholders, the road users, motorists, pedestrians, and everybody else, including boda people, including mkokoteni people, all those people. And we have to factor in that Mlolongo has a weighbridge, and there are heavy commercial vehicles that ply between Mlolongo going towards the western part of the country. And they will get to the area near Ole Sereni Hotel and join the southern bypass, but between Mlolongo and Ole Sereni Hotel, it's part of the construction part. Okay? Now, the chaos that has befallen the people who are using this road from all sides has been madness, but especially those who ply Mombasa Road, anywhere from City Cabanas going down. It's chaos. And then there's the residents of Syokimau who have suffered. The leadership of the residents of Syokimau is in the studio with us today. The chairman of the Syokimau Residents Association, John Mutinda, joins us. Good morning, John.
Good morning to you. Thank you.
Karibu sana. And also his predecessor, Mohammed Ismail, who was a former chairman of the Syokimau Residents Association, is in the studio. Mohammed, karibu.
Thank you so much.
It's good to have you on the show. And we appreciate that you've come and joined us. We call this the hot seat, but because you people are already facing the heat from out there, we are going to call this the neutral black seats.
True.
Okay? And you're going just to talk about the pain of what is going on. Before the top of the hour, we had two callers from Syokimau who just called randomly and were like, we have suffered here for so long. There's dust, there's traffic jam, and there's very many things. John, this issue of dust, explain to us what's happening.
Thank you very much. I think to start with, the Syokimau Residents Association was part and parcel of this project from inception. We were privileged to be the part and parcel of the EAI, the impact assessment of that project. The fortunate thing at that time is that Kenya, being the proponent of this project, were the people looking for us to sign that document, you realize that for every project you do, there are those very big positive impacts, which were all over and seen all over the region. There is no question about the positive impacts. But we also address the negative impacts at the time of our EI public participation. And at that period, we could single out the negative impacts, which needed mitigation measures before the project took place. Unfortunately, the proponent, being Kenya, has slept on the job. And I think it's very important that NEMA, being the licensee of this project, should look into the restoration orders and some things of how we can go about rectifying the situation. If you look at this project, it's not a Kenyan project because it's being done on a northern corridor stretch. The road we are talking about is not a Kenyan road, it's a regional road which is controlled by the East African nations. And to some extent, being the northern corridor, we have lost close to 60% to the central corridor. Central corridor is Dar es Salaam, Mwanza into Tanzania. And it's quite often, for the people who are in the logistics, they will agree, we've lost close to 60% of that traffic because people have gone to the central region. Again, now we're looking at the impact on this is also costing a lot. So in a nutshell, we're looking at the proponent having slept on the job. One, we had issues like the turnoffs. Those are the things which are supposed to have been addressed from the word go. And if you go to that project report, they are clearly marked. Look at the dust, which is emanating from there. It's an health hazard because it relies on our air pollution when it comes to NEMA. As I'm talking now, people from Syokimau cannot access the main road into their workplaces because the service lanes have already been closed. There have not been issues coming up, and how do we mitigate against those impacts? When we made noises on Friday, I think you could hear the multi-agency team visited the area. And one thing we were promised is that they're going to close all those, they are going to work on the working space vis-a-vis the road. That has not been done. If you remember very well, the South B stretch to Westlands, there were those Mabatis putting across to control the flow of traffic. That has been promised and it has not happened in Syokimau as we are talking. That is 3 days after that assurance. The splitting of the water, the splashing of the water on the dust has not been done. And other issues like the diversions have also not been contained. So we still have an issue, and this has to be addressed very, very urgently.
Okay, so I mean, we're looking at quite a number of issues here. The traffic situation is not good. We saw consecutive days where people were in traffic for a very long period of time, sleeping on the road, getting home at 3 a.m. and turning around basically and going back to work. Now, beyond it being a traffic situation, from what we are hearing now, a health hazard also has come into play. So there's dust that's up in the air. I mean, we're seeing white skies in the middle of the night and early in the morning and then through the day. And then this now has an effect on health. Moha, what exactly is happening in that? And where, in terms of the water splashing, we did hear that was going to happen. 3 days later, it has not. But what are some of the issues that we're hearing now coming out from residents in terms of their health?
Yeah, thank you so much. I think you just need to be at the flyover before JKIA to see what happens up over there. You know, it's quite dusty, thick clouds of dust all over the place. And, the other day when people slept over, on the roads, unable to get back to their homes, we made noise. I mean, we went to Twitter and tried to really wake up some people. Like my senior here said, they were down there talking about how they're going to suppress those dust. Made promises, in fact, and because we've made noise, I think that's a reactionary way of doing things by the government people. So, by nature, I think it's very important to really highlight, like my brother here said, that Syokimau, or Mombasa Road rather, it's a bottleneck. You know, we have a situation where Jomo Kenyatta is a sparse, land where it becomes a bottleneck from the Jomo Kenyatta Junction up to the river. You can imagine the number of trucks and vehicles passing through this road on two ways. As we speak, it has been narrowed to the outbound road on that road is one lane.
Yes.
Imagining how Kenyans usually have the bad manners of overlapping or even a car stalling on the middle of the road, it really clogs and really gets so bad. What these people really didn't do is two things quite very important to highlight. One, we have a government people who usually don't listen to each other. I mean, look, I give you a quite very practical example of Kenya Railways is a Ministry of Roads, or whatever it is they're usually called, transporteers, coming under the same ministry and CS. We have a railway station in Syokimau. If mitigation measures would have been made to mitigate the troubles we are really going through, Kenya Railways would have taken advantage over the presence of commuter railway by increasing the number of the trips that they make to town. They are asleep. They don't even do the normal trips that they are supposed to do. And here we are really having a situation where governments had planned all these kind of things. If you look at it, we gave up, we as an association, we gave our feedback. And in terms of, we gave them a list of things that they're supposed to do before they started the project. And part of the things we told them is, for us to be able to be sure that we succeed in this project, let's have mitigation measures, let's have more trips on the train.
So this was
absolutely,
talked about before construction began and before it was commissioned. These conversations took place?
Absolutely, yes. We had a discussion on this. Having been there, we know where the shoe usually pinches, and we really knew that there are no diversions. And we even gave them, we told them, you can grade some of the Syokimau roads and so that, like the airport road that comes just before JKIA is a good road that can be able to link Katani Road and Mlolongo and even pass there to the river. If they had taken, it's a 3, 4, 5 kilometers road that if they graded it well or even did it as part of their project, should have completely opened the place. They are not using those roads which are available. Now, because the road is blocked, everyone is finding a way through Syokimau. You can imagine the kind of dust which is there. Secondly, we have school-going children. Nobody has thought about the schools are open, and right now, kids are really brought out, and most kids usually either come to school in Syokimau or get to go to schools outside Syokimau. You can imagine having children in buses, in school buses, sleeping in the buses on the roads until midnight, and their fathers and mothers going to pick them with borders, just get them home, and then just prepare them to go back to school. The other night we had a discussion in our forums, and this is quite very important. There was an emergency, medical emergency. There are no public hospitals in Syokimau. You can imagine now with that kind of clogging, a lady was in labor.
No public hospital.
No public hospital in the whole Syokimau, and that's another discussion.
Point that needs to be.
Absolutely, nothing. And you can imagine
how many private hospitals are there?
We have, I think, one. It's called Syokimau Health Center, which usually closes by 8 o'clock.
Now we've got about 4 or 5 small ones. We got Fountain of
do you know what their capacity is? The reason why I'm asking is, you preface this discussion by telling us off air that just the number of people the homestead, 25,000 homesteads. And growing, and that's 60%.
Absolutely.
Correct.
So now you're saying that these homesteads are
serviced by 4 medical facilities.
No, let's call them. Those sound like clinics to me.
Clinics.
Yeah,
or
they are
dispensaries.
clinics actually.
Yes, clinics. Okay. And then you get to a mall, by the way. They're not even inside Syokimau.
Please continue. I just want to get that right in my head. Yes, go on.
So with that, there was an emergency. A lady who was in labor, and the way we usually have a very vibrant social media, we live like a community. Everybody gets to know what everyone does. And the family were really trying to wonder how can we get out this lady to hospital. The closest you can come to a hospital providing the facility for maternity services is either to South C, South B, or go down to the River Shalom Hospital. So this family, we really had to mobilize medical personnel within Syokimau to get that lady out of that trouble she was in. When we talk about the issues in Syokimau, it's that bad. As we speak right now, I mean, I've been told how people are still stuck on the service lane, unable to get into the main line, getting out of Syokimau. So it's not something that we can just easily overlook. It's really very bad.
For you to get here this morning, because we had requested you to come here in good time so that we can start the conversation at 8, you got here at 7:30.
I got to leave my car at Gateway Mall and come with a boda. I was telling my sister here that it's really chaos.
So there was already traffic.
It was already traffic.
Gateway Mall?
Yes.
And what time had you left your home?
She sent me a text around 5:30. I dressed up in 20-30 minutes. I was on the road by 5:45. And when I saw that I cannot be able to make, I left my car.
So 5:45 out of home. And this, we're talking about what? How many kilometers are we talking about?
3 kilometers. 3 kilometers.
3 kilometers. Yeah. And you had to leave your vehicle and take a boda. So you can be here by 7:30 for this conversation.
There you go.
When you're having this environmental impact assessment conversations with NEMA and the other agencies, what are the main areas of concern that you raised as an association, and what mitigation measures have you proposed?
One, we had proposed 3 intersections into Mombasa Road, one near the weighbridge, another one near the Nation Printing, and probably the third one near the Gateway Mall. We did not pull that together, and Kenya gave us 2, which it was more than 50%, and we never complained. We also proposed to another 3 footbridges, because you'll be realizing that from Syokimau, our residents will need to access the railway station and services on the other side.
Yeah.
So we proposed that, and as far as I'm concerned, we've not seen any of those issues taking place. And you can imagine, after the after the expressway takes off, there will be nobody crossing the road. So this is something else we are waiting to come back here and discuss, because it's not natural for people to be told to go to the railway station and they are not given the facilities.
Yeah, especially pedestrians.
The pedestrians. So those are the issues we are looking at, but the mitigation measures have not taken place because we've not seen it.
Okay, one thing bothers me as I'm looking at it right now is that we can talk about the traffic, which is it's not a joke, and we can the assumption is that it's just those who reside in Syokimau that are suffering this, but it is not.
Beyond.
We're looking at people who are coming into the city. We're looking at people who are leaving the city. We're looking at traffic that's coming from Kitengela, Athi River, Machakos, Mombasa, Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, coming even further, Isinya, down the road. Everybody comes and gets stuck here for hours. So we're looking at all of that. But the health issues are one that we cannot take for granted either, right? So we're looking at respiratory issues that people have been talking about. People have been complaining in the last few days about nosebleeds in children and even adults. The air is extremely dry, and then adding the dust to this. So, and then we're also hearing the noise pollution that takes place, because what may be unbeknownst to people is that in the airport land, there is sand harvesting that is going on for the construction. So the trucks are moving in all night, harvesting this sand, and again, the dust is adding to all of this. So there are a number of other agencies that come into play here. NEMA comes into play. The county government of Machakos comes into play. And my question is, have they been approached beyond saying, what can we see that has actually been done, or some attention given?
Look, we constantly engage the government agencies. And I must tell you this. We have not only Syokimau Resident Association. In Mavoko, we have a consortium of associations. All the associations in Athi River is usually brought in together. We call it MARA. We have a very strong and vibrant forum to discuss issues and try to really share notes. And in fact, today, one of them was supposed to have come here. He is stuck in traffic to really join us. Basically, Mavoko is another story for that matter, because, again, when you elect people and they're really not available to be able to really listen to you. One thing we've done as an association, the multi-agency association that we have in Mavoko, is we have done letters communicated to people, all agencies, whether it's NEMA, whether it is Kenha, whether it is the Ministry of Internal Security for that matter, because again, some issues which we really face in Syokimau and beyond is about security again sometimes, because even our airport, I mean, you can have that of kind of a clog and nobody's able to really do anything in case something happens at the far end of the airport. You can't even rescue people. So basically, and allow me to repeat this, the other day we reached out to Kenya Railways, and this is quite very important. When you have government agencies who don't sit down and try to plan, this is what usually happens. What does the Kenya Railway commuter train that is in Syokimau doing? When we had meetings 3 years, 4 years ago, they were really complaining that people are not using the trains because they are not aware about what is happening. There's an opportunity to let people learn this train. In this country, we've always been talking about how traffic is bad, how to mitigate, how people are not using the bulk transport system that is available. Why don't the government just sit down and say, let's make use of this train, which is just there, increase the number of fleets. We will not be having these problems. People in Syokimau would probably just have walked. We will not even be talking about transport and people leaving their cars on the streets. School children will have been planned in such a way that they are really picked and dropped by the train. So basically, what we are looking at as a society is government who doesn't, or government people. And I always tell this to our community. I don't know what happens to people when they join government. I mean, people lose themselves when they go to government. And I think it's unfortunate. I'm sorry to say that. I'm just telling you, don't understand why Kenyans, we are usually seen to be one of the brightest people. You get out of this country and go somewhere else, we are the most sought human resource. But when we come back and work, look at how our private sector is thriving. Safaricom is thriving, making a lot of profits. Why can't we make profits in the government agencies? Because we lose ourselves when we get to those offices. It's quite sad.
Well, maybe to add what he's talking about, I think this project seems to have been my baby when it came up, because it was a very good project with so many goodies on it. I participated in organizing for the public participation. In fact, I was not missing 2-3 calls a day from Kenya because they wanted me. I'm an environmentalist by profession, by volunteering, and I was being reached by every environmentalist who had an interest on this project. I'll be very sincere to tell you, during the public participation, we could eat what we wanted. And these people were just calling and telling us how the project
all the
going.
sweeteners were.
All the sweeteners were there. All the positive impacts were there. All the negative impacts were there. And the rider was, there were very, very good mitigation measures.
Right.
We approved the project. NEMA issued the license. It is stopped from there.
How many calls do you know?
Only Friday, we managed as an association, because apparently where I'm sitting today, I'm elevated to the chair of Mavoko Alliance of Residents Association, MARA. I'm not talking on Syokimau Residents Association now. Is when we wrote on Thursday to the DG NEMA and the DG Kenya to tell them, look, can you go back to your license and look at what we agreed? We are still insisting, if all does not go well, we need to move very fast and tell NEMA, look, this is not what we agreed. And for your information, as my colleague has said, it's so unfortunate that when you leave private sector in this country and you go to public sector, things change overnight. I don't know what happens there, because you don't see what happens. I'm sure if I was to make names in this studio, well, I may not even leave the studio, but it is a real situation. What we're looking at is an association, the Mavoko Alliance of Residents Association. It is our right. The Constitution is very clear. Article 42 of this Constitution guarantees us the right to clean and healthy environment. And there is no question about it.
Regardless of what's happening.
Regardless of what we're doing, regardless of who is doing it, even if we, the 5 of us, close this studio, walk to NEMA, bang the table, we still have the right as citizens of this country.
Yeah.
So as we are looking at it, NEMA is aware that the principles of the license are not adhered to, and they are very, very well about it. We've sent this one to the director of NEMA, and we are waiting to see. From here, we're going to monitor the situation, and probably...
And the response you get from this.
And the response we're going to get, we'll still come back to tell you, we're going to court, we're going to the tribunal, we are banging the tables, we are going on the streets, because we are Kenyans, we understand all the languages. And
Drain the swamp, John. Drain
very, very... Thank you very much.
8:30, Kenya's biggest conversation takes a quick break. We're live on SpiceFM, online and on KTN Home, having a conversation with the chairperson of the Syokimau Residents Association, who also is the chairperson of the Mavoko Alliance of Residents Associations, and his predecessor at Syokimau Residents Association, Mohammed Ismail. What's happening with the construction of the Nairobi expressway? How are the residents of Syokimau suffering alongside the residents of everywhere other parts down the road? Let's take this quick break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
Forgiveness is always conditional. Even before God, there's nothing like unconditional forgiveness.
Government doesn't pay you pension until you retire. In fact, they have no money for you. The day you retire, they look for it.
This country is punishing many young people. These young people are more susceptible to be deceived, to be taken advantage of, and they're more susceptible to be bought off.
Let us also talk about where we want our country to go. You know, we are a population of very young people.
We're in a state of capture. The judiciary is under duress. Parliament is in the pocket of the executive. You don't sit and wait for the regime to topple itself. It will never do so.
By the way, let me tell you, these guys are so persuasive. I'm telling you, they can persuade you to sell your grandmother. I'm telling you, they can sell sand in the desert.
City, has anybody on this program said to you as a guest, saying, "Oh, shut up, we don't want to be told what to do"? Has you ever that kind of... Has anybody been
I will not listen.
bit of advice? Because you're working on the premise that we should all pay heed to these proverbs. It's a very suspect notion.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
All right, 18 degrees and still hazy in Nairobi, highs of 27 and lows of 14 today. Cloudy conditions at 17 in Nyeri, highs of 25. We'll see highs of 25 in Nakuru, partly sunny conditions at 18 and mostly cloudy at 16 in Eldoret, highs of 23 and lows of 13. 19 will be the low in a sunny Kisumu this morning at 22, going to highs of 30. 30 will also be the high recorded in Kakamega, sunny conditions at 21, mostly sunny at 24, highs of 30 and lows of 23. We'll see lows of 25 in a sunny Malindi this morning, going to highs of 29, and 30 will be the high recorded in Kampala. It's mostly sunny at 22. Sunny conditions at 24 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31 and lows of 23. It's 7 degrees chilly in Johannesburg. Sunny, however, going to highs of 19. 29 will be the high recorded in Lagos. It's rainy at 25. Sunny in Kinshasa at 21. We'll see highs of 21. And actually lows of 21 and highs of 33.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life.
Yes, this Manic Monday continues. Industrial area now joining that for a Lunga Lunga all the way, then joining Likoni Road and the Likoni interchange. Off onto Mombasa Road this morning. That is quite heavy. The southern bypass not looking bad, guys. Connecting with Langata Road, you might want to then go even further to get into the city, because then Langata Road getting to the T-Mall roundabout is very slow. All right, Ngong Road also piling up. It's piling up on Jogo Road even more now as you go towards Landis Road and then out towards the city, Kamkunji roundabout. And then we see the mishmash that is traffic in the middle of the CBD. Also coming off Thika Road continues to be crazy beyond Survey now, the Italy Drift, and then out towards the Pangani Underpass, joining with Muthui Square. A lot of traffic this morning, and that outer ring situation is dulling down just a little bit, but just be careful still. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, that's how you can get in touch. Text 40127.
Spice
spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4.
And we're back. 25 minutes to 9 o'clock. Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues in the Situation Room this hour. Is Eric Latif, Nduoko, CT Muga, and John Mutinda, who's the chair of the Syokimau Residents Association and the Mavoko Alliance of Residents Associations, and Mohammed Ismail, who is a resident of Syokimau and a former chairman of the Syokimau Residents Association. The issue here is the construction of the expressway and what is happening, especially on the road and the residents of Syokimau. Washira says it's as if Kenha has no authority over the contractor. The contractor is more powerful than Kenha. As we're going to the break, we're talking about what happened is, and the engineers of Kenha were here last week. The chairman of Kenha was here, and the engineer in charge of the expressway project was also in the studio. And they said before the project started, they had of course, the environmental and social impact assessment meetings with all the stakeholders, including where they were calling you in Syokimau and talking to all other stakeholders. And they factored in everybody. They factored in the pedestrians. They factored in, border users. They factored in Kokoteni people. They factored in small vehicles and large vehicles. As we speak today, like you've said, we already have a problem, not just with the motorists, but pedestrians also don't even know how to use this particular road. Where are pedestrians walking? How are they crossing the road as the construction is going on? Has that been factored in? We don't see it happening. Now, John, you were saying that before as we were calling for these meetings earlier, they'd constantly call you and say, organize your people. We want to come and have a meeting with them. We want to talk to them. We want to sensitize them on this project. After that, how many times have they called you?
I'll be very, very sincere to tell you, none. We've never received any call from Kenya, who is the proponent of this project. We've not even had anything like the CSR, because as a community with such a project, we'll ask for some CSR to be taken care of. Maybe the tarmacking of 1 kilometer road into Syokimau, maybe putting up an hospital in Syokimau, maybe putting up a nursery school in Syokimau. But you remember the other week, instead of thinking all that, a nursery school was closed just because they went into their sewer system and broke it. You can say the damages the project is bringing vis-a-vis the benefits. So, in fact, as we are talking now, the project is doing more harm than what it should have brought to the residents of Mavoko. I'm not talking of Syokimau because it's across all over. And everybody in Mavoko is affected. And as we as the Association of Mavoko Alliance of Residents Association, we are equally involved in this project.
Last week they had a meeting. These are the leadership of Kenha plus the engineers in charge. And it was about this particular project. And they met at Mlolongo, right, on Friday. And after which they released a statement and said what the work that they were going to do. So they met there. They met the leadership of Machakos County, the CEC in charge of roads and transport and infrastructure. They also now brought in the engineers in charge and the project contractors as well. Were the residents alerted of this meeting?
Immediately after we wrote to the DG Kenya, copy to DG NEMA, we were told that a meeting was to take place, but we were not involved. In fact, we were surprised to see a multi-agency team visiting the area without the residents. So you can imagine, these people are told there is a problem. Instead of contacting the residents to know where the problem is, they just come, walk, make decisions, and go out. Now, out of that meeting, we managed to get the resolutions from a different angle, which was semi-official, But again, we were told, look, all the roads are going to be marked, all the traffic flow will be directed, all the working areas will be secured with the mabatis like we have in South B and the
This is
rest.
communication in writing.
It wasn't because we were not even invited, but
Well,
we got it
meeting.
from the reliable sources and the multi-agencies. So we were told that was likely to be done over the weekend.
Okay.
For us, we would have,
This weekend that has now ended.
yes, the weekend which has ended, because they claimed on a Friday it was not really practical to work on heavy machineries and all that.
Yeah.
So we waited for Saturday, nothing happened. We waited on Sunday, which was until last night, nothing happened. We are waking up early in the morning to find nothing is moving in. In fact, coming here, I left the house at 5:30.
John, no, you can't really say nothing has happened. Yesterday they tweeted, Kenha, the construction site along Syokimau area is being hoarded for traffic regulation, that is putting the mabatis. Along Mombasa Road, the work area is also being watered on an hourly basis to reduce the dust in the area.
I am...
What?
No.
Not true?
No. Can you just excuse me as their chairman? Absolutely nothing. And I want to change the nothing to capital N-O-T-H-I-N-G.
And underline in red.
And underline... If I do it in red, I'm not going to be very fair to the government. I'll just highlight it in green.
They even put a photo here on the Twitter. Okay, they say on the 28th of August, they're showing the work going on. And then on the yesterday again, Nairobi expressway, JKIA Mlolongo, 28th August 2021, holding for traffic regulation in progress. They were putting in the mabati. The second tweet.
Can I say
The second tweet. Hold on. I'm just a messenger.
Yes.
The second tweet here is showing a truck. And there's somebody, the truck is basically pouring some water on a very dusty section of the road. And they're saying they're doing this on an hourly basis.
Absolutely no.
Can I tell you something?
Yes, Mohan.
Holding with Mabati is secondary to what we really need. As we speak right now, there are those boulders that are usually put.
Yeah.
The excavation areas are quite deep, that any driver who is not very careful can just drop in there. The other day when we slept in traffic, the next morning they tweeted and said that the traffic was caused by a truck which has stalled somewhere. I mean, that was a lie.
We were informed of the same.
Yes.
And look, in such a project, the best that someone would have done, is to make sure that we have emergency vehicles can be able to tow vehicles which stall on the road, so that when you create one lane for the kind of road Mombasa Road is, the expectation is anything can happen on that road. What mitigation measures do you have? Allow me to talk about something else.
Yeah.
Beyond Syokimau, there is Mlolongo. At Mlolongo, we have the only primary public school there. It has over 2,000 students in that school. If you have seen, there is a footbridge which usually just immediately after Mlolongo.
Yep.
That place has been dug out without caring how the kids are going to get to school or out. And you know what? While the school is on the other side, the children who are going to this school are all coming from this side.
Yep.
Nobody cares how these kids cross to that other side. There are not even traffic marshals to direct or try to really think about how these kids usually cross. Look, when we talk about these things, we really need to fix this country, because what we have, and I'm sorry to be repeating this every other time, is people in government who lose themselves. Some things my 5-year-old will sometimes question me, Daddy, why don't you do this? And you wonder, the person who probably has been trained professionally to be doing these things should have probably overseen and seen that before the project starts. And talking about the airport road, by the way, it's good to highlight this, that usually they have a station where the whole of the project is usually done from is Syokimau, just behind in the fence of the airport. They have a very big site place where they usually bring in material and try to really change it into whatever, the dust or whatever it is, and then carry on to the road. The amount of dust that usually those trucks create on that road is unimaginable. While they have just marramed the inside road in the airport, they should have probably thought about how can we be able to give back to this community we are really having this problem with. This month, when kids went back to school, if you ask any, and by the way, I wish someone had gone to talk to these schools. The infections and the dust has really caused to kids is very unimaginable. my 2 young kids who have joined nursery this term have not gone to school half of the time.
Well, I can give you some of those statistics.
I'll
And it's
tell you.
interesting because now the children's hospital that is resident in Syokimau gave us some statistics, and they're talking about for every 15 children that have come in the last 4 weeks, 11 of them have come with respiratory illness.
Issues.
Correct.
Okay?
True, correct.
And these are not chronic issues that they've had, and just giving us that information on, anonymity, but these are not chronic issues that they have, but they're allergy, environmental issues. 11 out of every 15 children that have presented in this children's hospital in the last 4 weeks have come because of this.
Allow me to highlight this. For purpose of record, the project is going to really open up that part of the country,
For sure.
and we really definitely like it. But again, we were thinking suffering for better tomorrow.
At what cost?
Yes, and that's what I'm coming to. Suffering for a better tomorrow was worth it. But again, sometimes, by the time you get to that better tomorrow, how many of us will cross to that tomorrow? I mean, how bad are we before we cross over to that better tomorrow?
Yeah.
We
need to deal with it today.
Yeah.
No, it's all right. There's a pertinent issue here regarding the standards that are used when building such roads. We did pose this question. One of the things we're told was they have been fast forwarding the time of completion, meaning it was set to be completed at a certain time, then they pushed the time forward. So it's like, my words here, dealing with an emergency.
Yeah.
So everything that you ought to have done with a certain degree of leisure cannot be done. What I still don't understand is we are not inventing anything new in building this road. It's the first time we're seeing such a thing in Kenya, but the contractor has done this before.
Yes, nowhere else in the world.
Yes. And there are standards by which, wherever they come from, they ensure that the building, because if you're building it, you know what you're going to encounter.
Exactly.
Okay? It's part of the planning. My question is, as residents of Syokimau, have you sat and considered what it is you need to do, not to alert the government and talk to them from time to time, but to bring them to the point where they actually do something?
They're sitting up, as we say, ginger up. and say-
Listening there, listen, even I'm sure they listen to this,
Yes.
what we're saying here.
Yes.
Have you considered doing something that will actually make them, all these promises, good and well, do something so that everything that needs to take place when such a road is being built is actually done?
Maybe I'll come in very quickly, and the issue of pushing these projects forward to me is nothing, because it's just like this is a professional who has to change things. I'll equate this one with a car which puts in 3 passengers behind. If you put 1 to make 4, does it really change anything? There's very little to change on that car because the springs are there, it's able to get it. But basically what we're trying to say is, we as the residents, we are responsible citizens of this country. We did not probably wish to start with the street. But again, when we are forced to go to the streets, we'll be forced to do it. Because one is that we have alerted NEMA that the license they issued has got some pitfalls and has been flouted.
Right.
That is on Thursday morning, that letter was placed with DG NEMA. We gave him an opportunity to look at it on Friday, which I think they did. Here we are with you today. We're going to see to look at the situation back after this. And the next thing we should be looking at is to make sure that our rise to health and clean environment, as contained in Article 42 of our Constitution, is followed. So it will not be very hard for our residents to walk up and go to the tribunal and say, can we have this project stopped? We are not limited to that because it's really our right. But again, we want to give everybody an opportunity. If somebody does not appreciate what we are going
How
through.
long have you been having these discussions with Kenya
Well, first,
and NEMA?
as
Months? How long?
We've been complaining unofficially. Officially, we went to them on Thursday last week.
So this is the first time that you wrote to them now officially?
Yes.
Okay.
After this is now going out of proportion.
Okay.
We are studying it within the course of the week. If things don't change, we'll have to change the tact.
What does the tribunal say? Sorry, Siri. What does the tribunal say? If you are taking a case to them, what should you have done before, prior to coming before this tribunal? I mean, you'll need to demonstrate that you have actually reached out to the officers, you've alerted them of what's happening.
What's the threshold?
How many times? What's the threshold? How many times should you write to NEMA before you go to the tribunal?
We are supposed to give them 2 notices. And the third one, we should invoke the regulation articles and move to a tribunal and tell them, look, this is not happening. It has to happen. And with the tribunal, I'll assure you, where I'm sitting in, I think we've got one of the best tribunals in the Republic when it comes to the environmental tribunal in this country. Yeah,
we do, but there's a reason why I'm asking you this question, because every time you have this discussion, if there was anything adverse happening, it doesn't stop. It continues, and I get the impression it even escalates. If there was dust, it's not getting less. If it was children's lives being endangered because certain conditions and precautions which should have been taken or not taken, it's not getting better. So if things don't change, then the very disasters that we say ought to be averted by these steps will actually occur. And then what will you say then?
When we are following technicalities.
Yes.
Or we are supposed to write the first time and then wait X number of days. As you're waiting X number of days, there's sewer flowing into the school. There's dust flowing into people's homes. All these things are happening. There are people who are getting prone to accidents. Is there no leeway, even with the tribunal, for this is a case that has now escalated to a certain point where you can fast track this?
Look, what we did, and we are people who are civilized. And in a civilized society, you try to do things in a very civilized way. One thing is, the crisis we are in right now has started the last 1 week. Because, the project has now moved to that bottleneck part of the Mombasa Road, from Airport Road towards Mlolongo Road. And here is where we've really then been engaged in the last 10 days, in fact, more than 2 weeks now. And yes, on Friday when they came to the ground to give us assurance, even though they did not call us, was they said we will be done with the issues on this stretch in 2 weeks. But even before that 2 weeks, what we said, together with Mara and ourselves and the community around there, is we have given them until the weekend that they will have promised that you've been reading. They are doing the boulders and whatever it is that they haven't done. We know what Kenyan government and the people in offices will usually listen to. If it gets to that point, then we will probably then call out our people because the road is already closed. We'll probably make it hard by closing it completely so that people come there and try to become a bit more responsible. I mean, we can't even stop them anyway because that's what people are asking for. So it's been us telling them, look, guys, let's try to really do what
you're the ones who've been reasonable.
That's the language, from what you're saying, that's the language that will be listened to. Because look, if we said that, for example, basic, I mean, and I think when they were here in the studio, Ken had told us, it's possible, and I believe it was Eric who asked that question, and he said, look, it's possible that we can put water there. We can put water because we cannot put tarmac now. It's too early in the construction to put tarmac there. So the next possible option is for us to water it and then, bring down the levels of dust that we see, whether it's on the main highway or it's in this semi-quarry that's going on inside the airport land, right? Yeah. That has not been done, as simple as that. So in your opinion, is that the language then that they would hear when we say, all right, well, since this is not being done, we're not going anywhere anyway. We're stuck on this road for 8 hours. Yes. We might as well sit here and not let anything go on.
That is exactly what the residents and everyone around there has been asking for. It's in fact Chair who has been telling them, I'm engaging constantly Kenha and NEMA to really be able to really get these things done. We all know how much this road is costing us. It's been exaggerated in terms of pricing because of the fact that it's on an urban setup and those kind of things, which we've really said as Kenyans, let's carry the burden. We're going to carry the burden. Those burdens included that they should be able to mitigate the problems they are really, like the brother here said. Those things have been factored. The contractor knows and has probably worked in other countries where things really work better, and he knows that these are the things he's supposed to do. We're not asking for something that is not out of ordinary. We are asking for something which is quite ordinary. Let them water the place, open the roads, try to have more traffic officers on the road so that people don't get stuck, and have emergency vehicles to be able to take care of the things which come up over with the projects.
Just to add on, I wish to probably look at it this. We, the affected residents, we are so fair to this project. So fair to an extent that we are giving time, we're giving them time to adjust their issues. As we are sitting here, we are under pressure from the residents, and we are only telling them, no, please give us a chance, because Kenyans are Kenyans. They would wish to do their own things their own way. But as we are sitting here, we are trying to plead with the government. You are promised issues which are not coming up, and we are telling them we are waiting. Let me tell you one thing: if you order spring for so long, it will blow.
Yep.
And this is now a time bomb. We are trying to tell the government, look, it is possible to splash water on these roads, which does not need any miracle. It is possible because you told us on Saturday you're going to put on the holdings on the roads. It has not been done.
Yeah.
These are the things. In fact, on Saturday, I came up a very interesting scenario whereby a lady was driving a Toyota Viz underneath a working excavator. You can imagine this. We are looking at Nairobi being one of the best cities in Africa, and then we are saying a lady is driving beneath a working excavator. It's not known. So basically what he's saying is we have been so lenient to this project, and we think our patience is running out. Let it run out because we are Kenyans. But before it runs out, let us tell the government that you have been sleeping on it because you've not been able to do it. Look at the expense of putting up a multi-sectoral team on a Friday. We are talking on a Monday, whereby nothing has already taken place.
So many hours later. In fact, Joanne Shiro says this is the current situation between Gateway and Syokimau to Mlolongo, the dust, the traffic. And she's even recorded a video which you can clearly see there is total chaos and pandemonium. I don't even know where are you heading to, Joanne, in this. It's just chaotic. And she says, do you really think that you have done anything here? Nothing has changed. You need to do something. This is just one of the comments that we're seeing here. The current situation in Syokimau. Johnny Walker is asking, is there no way that this project can be halted until such a time that the rules are adhered to? Very good questions coming. Talk about the overflowing sewer stretching all the way from Nation to Weybridge. It's been like this for years. When will this be fixed? All these things happening on this particular road as the project is going on, and this is what we are discussing this morning. So in the next hour, we want to open up the phone lines so that the residents, not just of Syokimau, but everywhere, the residents of the Republic of Kenya can call in, speak to the leadership of Syokimau Residents Association and Mavoko Resident Associations and tell them, okay, so what do you need to do? What do they need to do so that we can see this project being done the right way? Let's take a break on SpiceFM, but also on KTN Home, who've been with us since the top of the hour. You can switch over to SpiceFM. Nairobi is 94.4, 87.9 in Mombasa, 102.5 in Kisumu, 96.0 Nakuru, Eldoret 96.7, Nyeri 90.9, and Malindi 97.7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
You know, when you see someone being jailed, a governor or two or someone who stole, then people will fear. Because our problem is not the borrowing, it's the stealing.
We've become actually a nation of thieves. The only thing we lack is an opportunity to steal.
The guys who quote the Bible and say, I'm a Christian and all that, and you know they're thieves. Return what you have stolen 4 times. If you know that you have property or anything that you have stolen, just return and say, my God does not allow me to hold stolen things.
We are also a reflection of you, because you elect us. You know, we don't get into our office by ourselves. We are a reflection of the people who elect us.
We don't want to go to the streets. We have a constitution that enables us to assert our will.
When the legislators are now being taken as hostage by the executive for whatever reason,
We are now bound by what they want us to do.
This is just outside the realms of reality. We have impunity written into the DNA of our political class.
How old were you when you learned that Jeshi la Wokovu is Jeshi la Wokovu?
I can't say it very well. Yeah, ni mtu wa Jeshi la Wokovu.
Spice up your life.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto. Lecturers in public universities have called off their strike meant to protest the breakdown of talks between them and the government over salaries and benefits. According to Secretary General Constantine Wasonga, talks held over the weekend on implementation of the agreements on salaries bore no fruits. The government, through the Minister of Education, has asked the lecturers to be patient as their demands are being discussed with the aim of reaching an agreement, further adding that many institutions have suffered greatly due to COVID-19 pandemic. In a bid to unearth the truth surrounding the changing of security guards manning Deputy President William Ruto's homes, Nandi Senator Samson Cherargei has said that he will petition the Senate Security Committee to summon those in charge of security installations in the country. He says he will ask Senate Speaker to call IG Hilary Mutyambai, Interior CS Fred Matiang'i, GSU Commandant and Head of Public Service Joseph Kinyua to shed more light on the matter.
To appear before the Senate and tell the country as to why they have withdrawn security detail of His Excellency the Deputy President. This, for some of us, we see this as exposing the Deputy President to the personal harm. As you are aware, in July in 2017, the Deputy President's residence was attacked in Sugoi Wasingishu. No one has given us even a skeleton of any investigations that have been done so far.
This, as Deputy President William Ruto says, he is not bothered with the changes made to his security.
Hii mambo ya GSU na AP na nini ni mambo madogo sana. Tusipoteze muda wetu mwingi. Mimi sina shida na AP wakikuja kusimamia mahali nini naishi. Na hata ikipatikana kazi ya AP, ikitokea kazi ingine ambayo imetokea ya muhimu kwa Wakenya wengine ambao wako na matatizo, wanaweza hata kulete G4S, wanaweza kunisaidia hapo nyumbani. There is no problem.
Uguja MP Opiyo Wandayi has denied allegations that the ODM party wants IEBC Electoral Commission Chairperson Wafula Chebukati to resign. Wandayi said ODM has not issued an official statement urging Chebukati to be removed and that at the moment each leader was making their own personal opinion.
It is not true that ODM, for instance, would want to see Chebukati go home or removed. ODM, which is my party, and I'm the Secretary for Political Affairs in the ODM, by the way. ODM has not made any position to the effect that it wants Chebukati to go home or any other commissioner in the IBC. Far from it. What has happened is that individual leaders have been voicing their opinions, including myself.
This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Asseto.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, continues to be a thing on Mombasa Road this morning. A lot of traffic, even past 9 o'clock, inbound. We're seeing also some outbound traffic right around Imaradaima, then, snaking up all the way through past the Weybridge. So we're going to have to watch out for that one. Langata Road also continues to be. Jogo Road, joining with Landis. All right, in the middle of the CBD, it's all red. A mishmash of activity in and outbound of the city, looking at quite some issues there. The Thika Superhighway, my goodness, guys, connecting with Kiambu Road. A lot of traffic all the way from Survey through Muranga Road, all the way to the Globe Cinema overpass. It's absolute madness this morning, wherever you look. Southern bypass, at least, but then you're going to get stuck on Mombasa Road unless you go all the way out through to Kikuyu, then come back and join Gong Road into the city. My goodness. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Let's see what you can tell us about where you find a good route. Let's use those this morning. Text as well on 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Oko, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latin, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
5 minutes after 9. A very good morning to you. How are you doing? Thank you very much for keeping it locked on SpiceFM, having a conversation with the leadership of the Syokimau residents. CT, let's begin the hour with the day's proverb.
One should punish a child the first time they come home with a stolen egg. Otherwise, the day they return home with a stolen ox, it will be too late.
It will, eh? So 0719-012-600. The kids are back with the stolen ox. Let's talk to them. All right. Peter in Syokimau, good morning.
Morning to you.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I want to put some few comments.
Okay.
To support my colleague there.
Mm-hmm.
One, I want to say there is double standard between Nairobi section of the express and the Syokimau Mlolongo.
Uh-huh.
If you look at the Nairobi side of it, you find even issues like toilets, the demarcation of the road, and those kind of things.
Uh-huh.
When you come to Mlolongo, Syokimau area, you don't find such things, like a toilet even for the workers. There are no proper road signs. There are no proper road demarcation. On the Machakos, that means the Machakos government is purely not in this process. Number two is the issue of security. Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, the issue of security, well, I have got prior information that the county commander of Machakos is not part of the traffic management in this project. The people on ground, the Kenya government people, they deal with Nairobi commander. And I speak with authority on that line.
Mm-hmm.
That means the double standard still continues.
Very many issues. Thank you very much, Peter. Let's hear from Okinyi in Mlolongo. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
How are you today, Okinyi?
I'm well, but stranded here in Mlolongo. I cannot join the road to take me towards Syokimau.
Where are you exactly? Where are you headed?
Around the footbridge, just next to 3D's hotel.
Mm-hmm.
That place is packed with trailers and matatus trying to escape the main road.
Okay.
And again, for me, if I wanted to turn and start going towards Kitengela, I can't. There's no U-turn.
Mm-hmm.
The U-turn is far away, almost near Gateway Mall.
Yeah.
The U-turn that we were using before, they actually removed it, and they have dug everywhere. Why can't they finish one stretch, have it ready for motorists to use before they go to the next? They are digging everywhere without a plan.
Oh, that's true.
Hello.
Thank you very much, Okinyi. Juliet, also in Syokimau. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
For me, I just want to bring out one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Why have they not created a proper diversion? And yet we have the possibility of having a diversion behind Syokimau. We have a road we call Viwandani, and we also have another road we call Taifa Road. And these roads, if you extend them all the way, they go all the way to Mlolongo.
Mm-hmm.
So why not create that diversion? and really help with it. So we could have like an inlet and an outlet. And simply just, why are people refusing to think? And why is it that residents of Mara, and that is Mavoko, why have we been neglected like this? So that's my question and that's my anger.
Thank you very
And-
Juliet,
and
what would you like these leaders to do?
For me, I would say I think we've run out of patience. And I think residents of Mavoko, let's take to the streets. This is just not, we cannot have a conversation with these people. Just like you said, we are not creating a new situation. This is something that they had already seen. This is something they are aware of.
Yep.
And I think they are just looking at us and thinking we are very dormant and docile. So let's take to the streets and sort this thing out. The only way they'll probably understand.
Thank you, Juliet. Rispa in Syokimau, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. I'm in support of my leader. And as Juliet has said, we, the residents, are ready to take on the streets because we are not being listened to. We are not third-rate citizens of this country.
Thank you, Rispa. Let's come to Nairobi. Juliet in Nairobi, good morning.
Morning, Eric and team.
Good
morning. Good morning.
Anyone who has worked on a project knows that there's always an audit even as you do a project. And even as we're doing this road, there's monies that are allocated for safety. So where is this contract? Why are we not seeing where the money for the safety and all these diversions, where is the money gone? So there's kuna mtu anakula hapo. This is Kenya, we know.
So true.
What, seriously.
Yeah.
There's money that has been allocated as they're doing this kind of project because they're
What
diversions.
should
they
such
know that
money
people
cover?
Such money should cover safety. Okay, safety is number one. Diversions of the road. Okay, even if they have to do 500 meters every single day just to ensure that the road safety is there, because they cannot get away with this is crime in the UK or where
In
such
China.
countries. They cannot. No, in China they can get away with it because
no, they can't.
No, no.
They can't.
They get killed.
They are killed on the spot.
They shoot you.
they will get away with this because these companies that are doing the jobs in China, in Kenya here, or even in Africa, they are blacklisted in their own countries. They cannot build a road 100 meters. They can't.
Are you sure that these companies are blacklisted in their own country?
Well, hizi ni vitu tu tunasikia. We cannot confirm or tell, but surely you want to tell me these the same contractors can build a road in China?
Yes.
With these poor safety standards?
With the poor safety standards, no.
No.
The standards, of course, are different. This is what we're saying.
The standards are different because it is us accepting this kind of thing from them. They are not accepted anywhere else in the world, unfortunately.
Thank you, Juliet. Thank you.
Can we see those contracts?
Thank you, Juliet. Let's hear from Victor. Good morning.
Good morning. Nice conversation there. Yes. First of all, I'd agree with the gentleman who said that there's a disparity between the Nairobi section and the Mavoko or Machakos section. If you look at how between Westlands, the stretch between Westlands and as you go up, the way it was done, very nicely done. Not so much trouble. There was a lot of sprinkling of water and things were done pretty well. Now the Machakos section is quite a different scenario, And another thing I would like also to say is that the people at Kenha, I had them last week. They were there at the station, and to me it was just like all PR. I think it's about time that the leadership of the Mavoko needs to go to court. These people need to be fired, not excused or anything. They need to be fired. They need to pay for the pain that the people of Mavoko and Machakos and Kitengela and whoever are actually experiencing. I'm from Imara, but I experience the same problem every single day. Every single day. So we need to do something, either go to court or do like these guys need to pay for this, because I don't expect an engineer to sit in an office, a civil engineer especially, sit in an office the whole day. They need to do management by walking around, see that these things are being done, sprinkling water, putting demarcations, safety, standards. All those things need to be done. And if they're not being done, they're either sleeping on their jobs or they do not want to do the right thing.
Or they're
That means
incompetent.
they be fired. Yes, either incompetent or they just don't want to do it. So those are not the right people to earn our taxpayers' money. We need to either fire them. I mean,
Thank you, Victor.
seriously, for me, is firing. Full stop.
Thank you. John in Syokimau, good morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Good morning, John.
Good morning. Yeah, my name is John. I'm from Syokimau.
Uh-huh.
I just want to add my voice to our readers who are in the studio, and we completely support them. My biggest issue here goes to the Kenyan agencies that are overseeing this project. How come they are so mum? They look so docile when it comes to executing the agreed upon protocols that we had agreed with them at the point of conception of this project. The health and safety issues are so glaring, especially on this stretch of this project. But until we complain, there has been nothing. These are not new issues, as you've heard from those readers in the studio. But it's like they had to wait until we suffer, and then we come out to complain, and now they are trying to have this knee-jerk reaction. Why? Why must this always happen in our Kenya? The other issue I wanted also to raise is where is the voice of our leaders? Where is our governor, our senator, our women rep? You know, I look at the way women are suffering taking motorbikes. Where is our women rep? Where is our MP? Where is our MCA? This is the time we also need to hear their voice.
Yeah. It speaks about what they think about you. Thank you, John. Mercy in Syokimau, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Very well.
Okay. I just live next to the place where they're dumping the soil. And it is a complete nightmare for us. Because one, the noise at night and the amount of dust in this place. Yeah. And then on top of that, having children, I had just recently, my child got sick at night. Yeah. The nearest hospitals for us is here in Gateway Mall. We have Gertrude, we have other hospitals, but they are closed at night.
Yeah.
The only way you can access a hospital is you go all the way to South Sea or all the way to Ate River.
Yeah.
And the road is impassable even at night. So they're just making our lives here so difficult.
Mercy,
like our leaders said.
Where is this that they're dumping the soil? I mean, whose land is this, and how are they? What are they done?
The airport. It's the airport site, but it is just at the fence of the airport road. Yeah. So for us, the residents who are just directly opposite the airport fence, we are the ones being hit hard. Yeah, because all this dust directly comes to us.
To your homes.
To our homes. Our homes, we have to clean like 3-4 times a day. We don't open our windows for ventilation because if you open for ventilation, instead of getting fresh air, you're getting dust.
Yeah.
We don't allow our children to even go play outside. Yeah. We have a school just right opposite. Yeah. Where they're dumping the soil. We really need to do something about it. Yeah. And I want to thank our leaders because our Syokimau residents, because they've really been trying to listen and do whatever we are saying. But the government needs to do something from their side as well.
Right.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mercy.
You're most welcome.
Gentlemen, you've heard not just the residents of Syokimau, but people who understand the kind of pain that people are going through. And they're all talking about the same thing. Why is it that those who have been tasked with managing this project not doing their work?
Maybe to come on that, we've a small problem in this country. We've got very good brains in the private sector, and we work tirelessly for this country. We pay taxes for this country. But our biggest challenge comes in when one of us from the private sector is plugged into public office. The altitude goes very high, and the attitude changes very quickly. What does that mean? once the attitude changes, the government officials now will look at doing you a favor in doing an expressway.
Yeah.
I had a chat with one of them and said, look, we are doing so much for you, putting up a very good road, and then you are complaining. I'll tell you one thing, from where I sit, this attitude is just like going to an ATM, getting your money, and thanking the ATM for giving you the money. So I want to tell the people of this country, the people of Syokimau, let us not go to the ATM to thank for dispensing cash which belongs to you. All what he's saying is, we are very organized, we are a very civilized country. In fact, I'll tell you one, Syokimau has the best professionals in this country. There is no particular single estate in this republic which has professionals from all corners, from everywhere, as in Syokimau. We are here having been promised all those things to have happened on the weekend, and we're telling the Kenyans that we are running short of time. From the studio, we're going to get all of what is happening on the ground, and we should be able to advise our members the next course of action. Because the Constitution is very clear. Even if I sleep on that road, nobody is going to bother because I've got a right to sleep on that road. So that is what we're telling our people. Please be patient. We had the opportunity to come here to look at the things. We are told the government was here last week, and what we had been promising you is what was promised in this studio. We were told the borders will be done over the weekend. The splashing of the water will be done within a span of 1 hour after every 1 hour. And the diversions will be opened. This has not happened. Get ready for any eventualities as soon as we leave the studio. Thank you very much.
Are those the bare minimums? Is that what we're asking for? And they're saying without those three things having been done, we're not listening to any of this.
We are guided by the Constitution of this country, which is very, very supreme. No any other law which can supersede the Constitution. I want everyone listening to us to go back to the Constitution of this country and read Article 42. Article 42 has no exception. It is a right of the government to do what we are demanding. And as such, we are not going to negotiate with a government which has been given laws to implement for our negative impacts. As the mothers are talking about now, you can imagine a 60-year mother being ridden on a motorbike. It's an ad. This is supposed to be happening somewhere in those very, very old villages in this country. Anywhere. It should actually not happen anywhere in Kenya.
Anywhere. Yeah.
If we've been able to put up internet at 98% of this country, are we telling us that we need to ride women on motorcycles?
Simply because there's some work happening somewhere.
And simply because somebody is sleeping on his job and his altitude is so high that he thinks his attitude can work on him.
The higher you climb, the lower your attitude. Christopher in Syokimau.
Thank you very much for taking my call, and thank you even more for hosting our leaders. Before I make my contribution, I'd like to tell our chair, Mr. Mutinda, and Emeritus Mohammed, that as soon as you finish the situation on the ground has not changed. It is horrible. But going to my contribution, it is very, very sad. One of the biggest upgrades in modern Africa can be executed in such substandard manner due to nothing but gross negligence, and instead applying the horrible Kenya formula. My point number two, last week passengers missed their flights to JKA. That was on Thursday. Personally, I was forced to jump out of a car. I was pulling at Cabanas and take a motorbike because I was supposed to attend an urgent online meeting at 8 p.m. in Syokimau. It took me 1 hour, Cabanas, in a motorbike, and goodness, what I went through, I will never want to climb a border again. The other area is disparity when you compare how they shielded the Westlands segment, the CBD segment, all the way to Westlands. Yeah, Kenyan style, total disregard of our area. My other point, and sincerely, is the suffering that we are going through. But last Thursday, I picked on some traffic police, totally overwhelmed, dusty. It was a total mess. And finally, today I've been forced to work from home because I couldn't make it to work, and as a result, missing out on important presence requirements in the office. Whatever SpiceFM can do to sensitize this, we need this yesterday, not today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Christopher.
Yeah, I was saying this, and two things I really picked from the callers, and very familiar people that we know. One, like the part of the side of Nairobi, we are definitely not treated. You've heard about the story of toilets not being there. And one thing, Kenha presence on this stretch was quite visible. And over there, they don't even have an office. I don't think whether they have officers who are also manning the place. But that aside, look again, I'm not here to talk about the leaders we've elected. If only the leaders we've elected had done 10% of what us volunteers, I mean, I have an office, he has an office, we are very busy people, and that's what we usually do. If they have only had voiced 10% of what we have voiced, the problem we have right now on this stretch will not have been there on Mavoko section. Because like John said, we have a governor, we have a women rep who sadly is also part of us as resident. She stays in Syokimau. An MP we've elected, an MCA. You will not hear them. You really wonder sometimes the leadership problem that we are talking about is not only the ones in the office in government, public offices, but again the political offices. But again, that aside, we will keep pushing. We will definitely do whatever we can to make sure that our people stop suffering the way they are suffering. I sympathize with the lady who called from Airport Road next to the dumping site, where she really is not able to even find somewhere to take her kids for hospital. She's not the only one. When you look at the forums we have in Syokimau today, you will really wonder how people will not be able to make to work. Dr. Peter Ngwatu, my friend, tells me they've been able to reach Muthui Hospital where he has an emergency because stuck in nation media service right now. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
It's costing people lives and livelihoods. Not just, it's... And like you said, Mohammed, earlier, the attitude that you get from the leadership, when they go there and they meet and they stand and they take pictures and then they post on social media and they release a statement, the project team looked at this and they decided that what they were going to do is over the weekend, we're going to do this, and the other. And within 2 weeks, this matter should be resolved. When they leave, it appears as if they leave and the statement should have done the work.
Yeah.
No amount of follow-up happens. And I also want to talk about the rest of the stretch, because we still have issues even in the rest of the stretch.
Yes.
All the way from Westlands, from ABC Place. Yes, of course, the situation in Syokimau is compounded by the fact that they have just dug up the entire stretch. They have more space. But you can imagine, the other day we were talking about that stretch between University Way and Museum Hill interchange. They throw people into University of Nairobi. Go find your way. All right?
Wherever you come up.
Just go find your way. It's the same thing that's happening to pedestrians. I was looking at the pedestrians there used to be a stage, the Westlands stage. Westlands stage, of course, is no more because there's construction going on. Where do you think the pedestrians who need to cross from one side of Westlands to go to the other side to board matatus that take them to Kangemi and the rest of they have nowhere to cross. There's sewer on the road, so pedestrians have to, look at the vehicles that are coming,
have to hazard.
Find a way of crossing that road to go and look for where they can find a matatu. It's complete chaos.
And then just further down that road, there's a never-ending jam.
Yes.
Never ending. You're not really sure if you want to join Wangari Maathai Road, where to turn to. Do you go right back into town, past John Michuki? I mean, it's quite a mess. And it's all because of this one road.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing that one sees that is not manageable. You know why? Even on that highway, there are roads you could actually... They're small side roads. But they're all blocked because it's dug up. So you all get caught up in this one place, even where you could have turned. Why? It's been blocked. And you're thinking to yourself, but surely people who plan these roads know all this.
The engineers.
Yes,
They
know.
but engineering is about solutions. So what we're discussing is an antithesis, the complete opposite of what engineering is supposed to be.
Exactly, because these are not solutions. And I think what we are seeing now, we are seeing a physical manifestation of an attitude problem.
In
because
government.
you will assume that, okay, this is it. The resilience of Kenyans will also take care of this. The resilience that Kenyans have, because I've got to get up and go to work. Because if I don't do that, how will my children eat? My children must go to school. So yes, there's this huge inconvenience, but, I'm going to have to vumilia through it, And this attitude up here, like, Kenyans will figure it out. After all, we are building an expressway. Don't they understand? You see, it's an attitude problem. And I think if we don't deal with the attitude, even until that leadership level, we're in for some serious.
We had a life before the expressway.
And that's part of the problem.
Yes.
That the government has not, you have suffered in that traffic for so long.
You go and sleep.
Now we're just putting up an expressway. So what's wrong with just suffering for an extra 2 years?
2 years, and you'll be all right.
Why didn't they cut the costs?
To your information.
Cost that comes with the project.
Yeah, let's take a break.
If we have to be using our resilience to be able to really support the project.
Let's take a break. It's 9:30, having a conversation about the expressway, the Nairobi expressway, the construction and the chaos that it has brought to very many people along the route, especially to the residents of Syokimau. Ndu, let's still talk also about usalama barabarani, taking our own personal responsibility, which we also always do.
Absolutely. Very necessary to say how are we arriving or leaving on these roads that we use every day. Regardless of what the situation is, thousands of innocent lives are lost on the roads each year, while many more are left dealing with the devastating effects of car crashes, of accidents. The majority of these crashes are attributed to human-related behavior. So there's a way you can be careful. There's a way I can be careful. We're talking about speeding, overspeeding, drink driving, dangerous overtaking, distracted driving, using your phone, sending a message while you should be focusing on the road, failure to use seat belts, lack of safety gear such as helmets, reflector jackets, among others. We're addressing these challenges that are presented on our roads, and we're calling on each and every person who is a road user to play their part and realizing that everything can change in a split second. Usalama barabarani fika salama. It's a message brought to you by NTSA and the European Union.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Spice up your life.
There's so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation.
I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. They gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
he's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Nafande hii umbo yako iko na
hii ni umba special.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Temperatures rising in Nairobi, 20 degrees,
with
highs of 27 and lows of 14 today. Looking at mostly cloudy conditions at 19 in Nyeri, highs of 25 and lows of 14. 15 will be the low in a rainy Nakuru now, highs of 25. Partly sunny conditions in Eldoret at 20, highs of 23. We'll see highs of 30 in Kisumu. There's a haze over the city at 25, coming down to lows of 19. It's also hazy in Kakamega at 25, highs of 30 and lows of 16. Partly sunny conditions in Mombasa at 26 with highs of 30. It'll come down to lows of 23. 25 will be the low in a partly sunny Malindi, highs of 29. We're looking at highs of 30 in Kampala at 23. Partly sunny conditions at 27 in Dar es Salaam, highs of 31. 19 will be the high in still a chilly Johannesburg at 9, coming down to lows of 8. It's rainy in Lagos still at 25, highs of 29. And lows of 24, and Kinshasa remains sunny at 22 with highs of 33. Let's look out east into Beijing, where it's raining at 27 well into afternoon with highs of 29. It'll come down to lows of 21. Cloudy conditions at 16 in Paris with highs of 22. It'll come down to lows of 15. And we're looking at a cloudy London morning, highs of 18 and lows of 14. And early New York, the Big Apple will be cloudy at 23, highs of 29, and back down to lows of 22.
Spice up your life.
So it still continues around the city. This was that Monday that many folks hoped they didn't have to wake up to, but there's traffic everywhere you look, literally. And right in the city, it's actually quite red. We're looking at traffic still on Mombasa Road inbound. Outbound as well, the outer ring situation getting a little bit better, but then we still have that North Airport Road clog up. Langata Road also looks quite heavy. Lunga and other parts of industrial area quite heavy as well. Jogo Road heading out into the city, spilling onto Landis Road. Kamkunji roundabout, my goodness, is a mess, as is most parts of the CBD this morning. That entire central area, a problem. Also looking at it coming off of Thika Road, that has not let up at all. So it looks like we're going to be in it for a couple more hours, guys. Brace up. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text on 40127.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Everything nice.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice
All right,
FM,
the conversation continues
Nairobi.
at 24 minutes to 10. So we're still talking about Usalama Barabarani as we talk about what's happening in this Barabarani. When Johim Kulima on Twitter says, this is a situation, haphazard turns, no signs, dust all over. And then, of course, people overlapping.
There we go. People are overlapping, and we're asking drivers as well to be extremely careful. Be aware of your surroundings, guys. Always watch out for other road users, including motorists, border riders, cyclists, pedestrians, and school children, as they all depend on you. Imagine you, everybody depending on you to be careful so that they can be safe. It doesn't hurt to share the road. Always wear your seatbelts. Use your signals correctly. Look around before making any turn. And remember, speed that thrills is speed that kills. Usalama Barabarani. Fikeni salama.
Let's go back to the phone lines. James, good morning.
Good morning, Eric, Ndu, CT, and the two gentlemen who I really commiserate with.
Good morning.
Yours is an adventure every morning and evening.
Imagine.
Just to say, while we can say all those things about the engineering and all that, I think one of the major causes of all this backlog and all that is human-related behavior. We are simply too much overlapping. The impatience is out of this world. There's lack of courtesy, road etiquette. You see, traffic management is a science that largely assumes human behavior will be rational.
Yeah.
Now, the Kenyan driver is nowhere near the word rational. I have been stuck on that road twice. I drove from Machakos, got to the Athi River Junction, and it took me 5 hours from Athi River Junction to the Changombe stage. Now, after Changombe, the road was clear. There was not a single vehicle from Changombe to Nyeri Stadium. But what was causing over here, there were 22 lanes at one point in time. The people going to Machakos and the people coming to Nairobi are looking at each other face to face. So even when we want to complain and blame everybody else, I think a little courtesy and a little etiquette will always get us going. We in the West and even in our highway code, we have what is called alternative merging. If you give the guy on your left space to get in, traffic will never stop. The problem is you have three guys trying to squeeze into a place, and they all look at each other, they scrap each other, and then everyone now gets blocked because of the idiocy of one or two people. So when we want to complain as much as all these other things, and I do not take it away from what those two gentlemen are saying, but I think what we also need to start doing as human beings, as rational human beings, is just to give way. Just give way.
Courtesy goes a long way.
Overlapping. Yeah.
Courtesy goes a long way. That's very true. How did we get here, though? How did we get to a point where whenever there's a small traffic snarl up, you just look ahead and you see there's just a fender bender, and the next thing you want to do is overlap? How did we get there?
Because everyone follows matatus.
Sadly.
One always look at it. How does overlapping start? One matatu gets off, and then everybody follows the matatu, not knowing what the matatu is doing.
Oh, there's a new entrant into that arena, though. There are these people whose cars have strobe lights on these disco lights on top of their vehicles, and you hear a certain honk, vwong, and then the next thing you see is this car that has created a lane, and then others follow. So yes, I agree with the matatu, but I've experienced these when I'm thinking, who are these people who feel that?
The Prado boys.
Yes.
And the Prado boys,
especially. and the V8 boys, yes.
The V8 boys.
Especially the black ones.
with tinted windows.
It's too early in the morning for me. It is too early in the morning for me to describe them as I would want to describe them. They also closely border on idiocy.
Yes.
Yeah.
They closely border on idiocy.
Thank you very much, James. You too. You know what I feel? I feel this comes back down to the attitude. The attitude that we have at the highest levels of government, where government believes that it's there to offer you some favors here and there, just a sprinkling of favor here, favor
for which
there.
You should be eternally grateful.
Yes. And that's why you see that the people who are in government, who then are the ones who are entitled to those strobe lights, they come in and they expect you to give them way at every instance.
Yes.
Because they're giving, I'm going to work for you. Come on, just give me way. And that has also led now to other Kenyans who feel, this is the way I'm going to be treated as a mheshimiwa, to buy those two strobe lights and put on the grills of their vehicles, and they're all harassing everybody. And what happens? If a traffic police officer stops them, what happens? You stopped Mkubwa, the next thing is you're transferred.
Yeah.
Because you inconvenienced Mkubwa. Who is
inconveniencing others?
Yeah, but he's going to...
And this is not to Moranga, to Ajia.
So the next thing the traffic police officer does is just allow those things to happen.
Eric, you know what I found the other day? And we were discussing this in our groups. You've seen this road behind Kiangombe, the new one. Eh?
Yes.
It's the place we're breathing right now when things really get bad right now. The last week, from Wednesday to Friday, there are guys who are marking that road on a peak hour. Like this time. Right. And when I answer kupaka those rangis, and that road has been there for 4 years. And they have literally blocked that road so that they are able to pack the rangis. Who does that in this world? Why don't people go work these things in the middle of the night when nobody's on the road? Why would we do some things like marking the road, some things which can be done on a weekend on a Sunday?
Mohammed, this same road you're speaking of before the expressway, when they were adding the lanes, they worked day and night. We saw what they could do.
Yes.
The lanes were actually added onto as traffic was moving. So one cannot say that some of these things... There was an inconvenience, yes, but it was minimum.
Absolutely. Yes. Absolutely. Rather than doing it in 8 o'clock in the morning or in the evening when people are getting back home and you've closed the road where people should probably have breathed from Mombasa Road. It's just really crazy.
You know where the problem arises, this attitude that we are speaking of, is that it cascades down. So everybody... you see, government represents authority and power. So you cascade it down at any level where there's a Kenyan who thinks they have authority and power. They will exercise it in the worst way possible.
From where I'm sitting on the logistics scenario, we're doing so much for very little. As we are putting up the expressway, we've lost close to 60% of our traffic now, Uganda traffic to Dar es Salaam. That is a fact, and I wish to put in the people on the ground to tell us that is the truth. So we go back to the attitude. We were having a scenario, we were having a meeting with probably another forum, and we were saying, we're going to put state-of-the-art road. But the question is, who is going to use it? Because you can imagine, Uganda now is using Tanzania for their cargo, which is practically, geographically impossible. But they are making it possible to move that cargo all the way to Mwanza and cross it over Lake Victoria. That is happening. When you talk to the government officials, the attitude says we are a bigger economy. You cannot have an economy without the players. This is where we are coming from.
This country you mentioned is our biggest trading partner in the region.
Correct.
60% of this cargo we talk of here at the Mombasa port goes to Uganda.
Goes to Uganda, yeah? And Sudan. South Sudan.
So, this is not, we can't ignore what it is that they desire, that they want. And it's not, you see now, we force them to think of an alternative, an expensive one, a tedious one, but they'll figure, you know something? On the balance of things, I think we're better off with this. Same Ugandans were complaining about, forget these delays, losing cargo.
True.
It gets to a certain point and they can't find it there. I mean, how can you not find a cargo? You know, it isn't a needle that can drop down and get lost.
And a container is sealed?
Yes.
It is empty?
Yes.
With the original seals? And then you wonder, what are we going to do?
I like what you've said, because what we're looking at is an attitude that is born out of impunity, where somehow, because you are in some position of authority within a government structure unit, you think you can do exactly what you want. But you know, they get this attitude from people who are their leaders, beginning with the topmost office in the land, coming down.
I'll tell you one thing.
Yes.
A very interesting scenario. For a Rwanda truck to cross Malaba, pick a container in Mombasa, go back to Malaba, it is costing them about $3,000. $3,000 for what I'm not going to discuss here. You know how our roads are. The same truck uses Tanzania stretch. The cost of that truck on the road is only $500, apportioned purely on driver's allowance. Here we are talking of a truck crossing Malaba to Mombasa and back for $3,000. That amount is not explained anywhere. That amount is that the driver has been suspected not to be having the right documents. That truck, the tires have been suspected and the truck is unroadworthy. We must change the attitude. And this has to begin with the government itself, because the non-tariff barriers is killing this country and is going to kill. In fact, as we are talking now, we have nothing to be proud of in terms of the Northern Corridor. It's an idle road because it's not being used anywhere anymore by the partner states. Thank you.
Let's go back to the lines. Zachary in Nakuru is on the line. Good morning.
Oh, good morning, everyone there.
Morning.
Now, very quickly, let me congratulate those guys and let me point out that I wouldn't stay anywhere near, not even near, where there is a traffic jam, okay? And I really sympathize with those people. But now let me say this one thing. Let me inform the chairman, and he is a former chairman, that when they see those guys working on that road, they should notice that everybody, from the senior most person charged with that road to the marshals, the more they stay in that project, the more money they make, and therefore they are about to actually, want to bring commotion and everything to show that they are doing something. So they should actually work on the speed. The other thing is this. The chairman there said that from his place of residence to the studio, it is 3 kilometers. I think I remember him saying that, yeah? We are called upon everyone who is around that area. Let us give, let us give away, some of the things that we are using, like now using the car, just 3 kilometers. He would have used a border, or even walk, or even use a motorcycle, which would have reduced the number of cars on the road, yeah, and therefore reduced traffic. And the other thing is that let them just know that for any development to actually occur, we are called upon to make some sacrifices. And even in let us not always go to the Constitution and say I am required not to have traffic. Even if the Constitution is there, the laws of nature demand that even in the apes and the animals in the forest, they do not have a written Constitution. But they know that for us to get food, we have to go and look for it. Okay?
So what are you saying, Zachary? I'm not getting what you're saying. Are you saying that the residents should bear with this project?
Definitely. They should be up, but then let them push those guys to actually increase their speed. And also for us who are being, made the road, we should know that the Constitution actually, even if they go to demonstrate, to the streets to demonstrate, the road has to be made, and there are some sacrifices and inconveniences that we expect.
Okay, Zachary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve in Nairobi, good morning.
Good morning, Spice team.
How are you?
Good morning.
Five eggs. I've been listening to the conversation, and I want to just probably make a few comments here and there. I think one, the associations are coming a little bit late into the game because this is a project that was earmarked to take 3 years, and it's now going to take 1.5 years. The inconveniences are also, let me say that it is because of impunity. Yes, we have standards on how to, when a road is being constructed and what needs to be done and marking, safety and all that. But because nobody has actually put the government or the authorities that are charged with those responsibilities to adhere to those standards. And it is almost like a Kenyan thing that we always come towards the end. We always raise eyebrows towards the end of a project. It's inconveniencing because we're all Kenyans. We've seen how the roads are done, and we have complained. Then after it has been completed, probably we forget because now the road, we have access to wherever we are going. My plea is also not only to the gentleman in your studio today, is also to you, because the last time we had the Kura or even the Kenha guys there, we didn't ask them those serious questions like, when you construct a road, there is a bike lane. Why is it that who is then in charge of making sure that cyclists are on the bike lane?
Oh, we did.
Because they didn't. They didn't answer. Like, for example, like they didn't answer. Yes, because there's certain things that even after the road will be done, I am 100% sure, because we have been in Kenya. They have said that we are paying. There will be toll stations on the road.
Yep.
There will be a traffic jam on that road.
Yep.
On that super highway.
As people get to the toll.
Because somebody will come get into it. Oh, it's a road. Let me get onto it. Then, how do I pay for it? I don't have the money. I need to know, because when you're driving, you think that is evident.
You know why, though, Steve?
Yes.
All these things. It's if you have not informed the people as you're getting onto this road, this is how much you're expected to pay between this distance and the other distance, and this is the exit point, and this is how you shall pay. Is it M-Pesa? Is it cash? Is it card? Do I need to get a card in advance? If you don't do that, then you have problems. However, if you communicate and let people know that this is how you're going to do it, people don't complain when they're getting onto a matatu. They know. Matatu crew expect cash.
It is true.
There's no time when someone says, but like niko na kadi, amkusema no.
But you see, the thing is, this goes down to planning, because at the end of the day, if they're not informing people, and then the common mwananchi will also come in and say, we were not informed. We were not told. It is the same thing when you're covering a story when they are destroying
demolitions, and people say
there are demolitions and everything. Then somebody says, "I was not given." When you go to the authority, we gave them notice. So who is saying what?
You know, Steve, one of the things that you will realize, the points you're making are extremely valid, but it just validates a very terrible situation we have in this country. In that, what you have on paper, my friend, everything we talk about here is on paper. It is thought through. It is planned for. It's even budgeted for, including this communication we keep talking about. But now when it comes to actually putting it into operation, then you find something completely different. All these things that we're saying, if they're the engineers of Kenya listening to us, believe me, they know exactly what we're talking about.
And maybe to cap it all is when this project was sold to the residents, it is the proponent, Kenya, who came up with the proposals. They gave us the positive impacts. Nobody is doubting that because you'll be driving to Westlands in 10 minutes. Nobody is denying that. They also captured the negative impacts of this project.
And how they will mitigate.
Now, the issue is, after the negative impacts were identified, they came up very correctly. The environmentalists to go for a retreat in Malindi, Watamu, to fine-tune a document and tell us how are we going to mitigate the negative impacts. Or what we are asking them, why did you have to go to Watamu for 2 weeks to give us an alternative to the problems we are talking about today in the studio?
Mr. Mutinda, you don't know. There's something unique. There's something very unique about Watamu.
Yes.
When it comes to discussing such matters, and Naivasha is even. There's an ecosystem within Naivasha and Watamu, where when you discuss such matters,
solutions are found.
My friend, you come up with beautiful solutions, and especially if you stay for a week or more.
Yes.
And you know, before all these things, you must do global best practice.
Not possible.
You must check global best practice and benchmark, for example. This how has China done this kind of projects in the last 10 years?
Yes.
You know.
It doesn't take a minute to sort out these things.
No,
So you have to go
and
there.
it does not require any atomic science to come into this. Just put the traffic flow, reduce the dust, give us the way, the intersections, and life continues.
If they hadn't been to Watamu, the situation would have been worse.
Well,
John, let's conclude the conversation today. What would you like to tell the people of Syokimau once again?
Where I'm sitting, I want to be very sincere to my residents. They have given me the mandate to represent them, and I will not let them down.
Okay.
Somebody talked about we are too late. It has never been too late, because even when you are looking for a divorce, you start with separation.
Actually, you start with a wife.
We start with a wife.
Start with marriage.
Simple misunderstanding in the kitchen, in the sitting room. It goes to separation, and then you file the case. I would wish to tell the residents that we are not late. We are not late because we are not going to be late. All what you are requesting the government is to do what is required to do. And the laws are there. We are not demanding anything outside the law. We are not demanding anything outside the impact, the environmental impact assessment, which was given with conditions. If you look at that, and I would wish to challenge the DG Kenya to come back here and read the conditions of that license.
Of the license. Thank you very much.
The condition of that license is what we've come here to mitigate again. We are not supposed to be there. We are Kenyans who are also...
you should be getting value for service.
Correct.
John, thank you very much for coming. John Mutinda is the chair of the Syokimau Residents Association and also the chair of the Mavoko Alliance of Residents Associations. He's been our guest together with Mohammed Ismail. Yes.
Holding brief for Mavoko Alliance.
For Mavoko.
Yes,
Okay.
not the chairman.
Okay. and Mohammed Ismail, who's a former chair of the Syokimau Residents Association. Ndu, again, about traffic and safety on the roads.
Sure. So continuing to ask folks as much as possible to be really careful on the roads as we use them. It's not a matter of what you think can be done or what you imagine can be done, but actually what we know should be done when it comes to our safety on the roads. Very quickly, do not overboard matatus. You get into or you're approaching a matatu or public service vehicle, you see that it's full. Don't board.
Thank you very much. City, as we say goodbye, read that long proverb.
This one isn't long enough, but let me read all the same. One should punish a child the first time they come home with a stolen egg. Otherwise, the day he returns home with a stolen ox, it will be too late.
Okay. Thank you very much for tuning into the Situation Room today and for all your contributions on social media by calling. Join us again tomorrow morning, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. We'll be here, CT Muga, Nduoko, and Eric Latif. Good morning. It's now 10 o'clock.
Spice up your life